desperately. They pray for victory to Ares, the god of war. From Artemis, the goddess of the moon and the hunt, they would pledge eternal purity. To Demeter, the god of harvest, they would beg for more food and no hunger. While traveling, they pray for a safe journey to Poseidon. And the gods themselves? They had no limits in life. They could never age or wither. Soon, the praises and their divine power got into their heads. They were cruel, arrogant, and prideful. Because they were immortal, they became heartless to the humans who worshipped them. Another bad thing about them? They could never change the truth they have decreed. Just like the god, Phoebus. He believed love was just a passing game. He despised such cheap emotions, thinking they belonged to beasts. The only thing he believes in is reason. That was his truth, one he vowed never to break. Yet here he is, begging for some love from a little nymph. His beliefs have been broken. The nymph refuses him, begging to return to the goddess Artemis. For the first time, his love is rejected by a mere nymph, but there is nothing he can do. This whole tragedy was caused by an arrow shot by the young god, Eros. Because of him, Phoebus' truth shattered into countless pieces. Now, we see several ladies run around the forest. It is a thrilling hunt as they chase after a stag, desperate to catch it. Unfortunately for them, the stag seems to be getting away. It is about to run into a cave, making all the young ladies mourn. Once it is inside the cave, it will be harder to catch. They were asked by the goddess to bring back this stag. No matter what, they have to catch it. But the animal is very smart, avoiding all their traps. Even their best runner cannot catch it. The women are all tired and have given up hope. They can already imagine how disappointed the goddess would be. Suddenly, another lady fires an arrow. It accurately hits and kills the stag that has been making everyone worry. While the ladies are happy, the savior appears. She is a beautiful woman with pretty green eyes and dark hair. Our heroine's name is Daphne, and her friend Euclea praises her. It seems our girl has some really amazing archery skills. She is trying to be modest and pretends to be worried about the stag. Her friend sees through her. Daphne is such a perfectionist, she wouldn't come down until she hit the stag. She once stood on a tree for 2 hours just to catch a game. They have to hurry back to the temple because an important guest is visiting today, the god Phoebus. Daphne isn't interested in him. You see, she left her father's hometown all because she detested men. Her father is the river god, Peneus, but Daphne would rather serve the moon goddess Artemis. The goddess is known to be a virgin, only interested in hunting and leading her nymphs. Daphne hated those men who only chased her because of their filthy desires. The only place she could be free from them is in Artemis's forest where men are forbidden. So she disobeyed her father and fled to the moon goddess's side. She swore an oath of eternal chastity to Artemis, vowing never to fall in love. But Daphne didn't see a problem with this. In fact, she has never been happier. Now, she roams the beautiful forest with her friends, knowing that the goddess is protecting them. This was all she desired, a perfect paradise. Until it is all ruined. Back to the present, the friends are returning back to the temple. Daphne might not be interested in the god, but she wants to know why Lord Phoebus is visiting. Euclea has no idea. They are just nymphs and can't know such important information. But she has some advice for Daphne. This is the first time Daphne is meeting the god. Apollo Phoebus is the only man allowed into this pure, forbidden land ruled by his twin, Artemis. Each day, after completing his duty as the sun god, he would visit his beloved sister. Daphne has heard rumors about him. It is said that even the goddess followers, who all despise men, lose their focus whenever he comes. But these are stories whispered when the goddess isn't around. Because they have vowed chastity to their goddess, having feelings for a man is the worst sin ever. Anytime someone mentions Phoebus, Daphne remembers Callisto. She was a pitiful girl, turned into a bear by the goddess after she broke her vow and lost her purity. Those stories remind her of how cold-hearted her goddess is. She wouldn't accept any betrayal. Euclea knows she has never seen Phoebus before, so she gives her a warning. All the nymphs have the same reaction when they see Phoebus. If the goddess ever found out, they might all end up like Callisto. But the girls can't help themselves because Apollo is just too special. Once you see him, you will never be able to look away. Daphne is offended. Euclea just wants her to be careful. She was once like Daphne. She never understood the warning until she saw Phoebus herself. Daphne reminds Euclea this is the goddess's sacred land, and such words are dangerous. Her best friend knows, but she has to warn Daphne. Euclea tells her to be careful because Phoebus has a radiance which makes everyone want to worship him. There has never been any exception. She knows explaining it wouldn't make sense and says Daphne would understand when she sees him. Daphne returns to the castle, but she doesn't take the warning seriously. She is someone who is already tired of men. She ran here because she was tired of the endless courtship and proposals, so why would she worship a man now? The other ladies would praise Phoebus when the goddess isn't around. They call him the most perfect god, and rant about an unseen elegant grace that flows from him. Daphne could never understand them. To her, a man is just a man. There is nothing special about them. Yet the other girls keep praising him, making her wonder what is so special about him. She thinks it is all nonsense. Maybe that is why she did what she did. If only she had listened, her end might not have been so tragic. He arrives dressed in white and gold. His body is like an art, his face shining like a sun. Daphne should have listened to her friend's warning. Euclea reminded her the other girls were like her. They all came here because they despised men and swore never to give their attention or hearts to them. They would even be punished if they broke this oath. And yet, they all feel the same love for Phoebus. It isn't love caused by Eros's arrow or the goddess Moire's prank. Daphne will only understand when she sees him. And Daphne does understand. Because from the first moment she saw him, she fell deeply. For the rest of her life, she could never look away from him. The ladies are out hunting again. Just like the last time, the stag is getting away, but there is no Daphne around to save them. The ladies are disappointed and argue about who will tell the goddess this news. It has been several days and they haven't brought any food back. They keep having failed hunts. They really miss their best shooter, Daphne, and think about asking her to teach them. Her closest friend is really worried about her. It has been weeks since she last joined them for a hunt. Every day, she gives different excuses and refuses to step out of her room. The only person she agrees to see is the goddess. Her friend tries to convince herself she is just overthinking. She heads back home, believing Daphne will be fine. Except Daphne is not okay. Right now, she is in despair. She has committed the greatest sin the goddess hates, having feelings for a man. Every day, she sits in her room trying to understand what is wrong with her. She hoped it was just worship or admiration. But it is much more than that. Weeks have passed, but all she wants is to see him again, even from afar. She hasn't joined the goddess hunt in a long time because all the joy she used to get from hunting, from catching prey, is all gone. Instead, what gives her joy is the night, because that is when he would return. After finishing his daytime duties, Phoebus would come looking for his sister. He never noticed the woman watching him from afar or even looked at her. After seeing his sister, he would spend the night with different women. Daphne thought these foolish feelings would disappear soon, but boy is she wrong. Our girl is so gone that even seeing the daylight his sun chariot brings makes her happy. She doesn't know what to do anymore. After several nights of crying and despair, she finally realizes what she wants. Just a look from him would be enough. She wants him to look at her and smile one more time. Night arrives and it's time for Phoebus's visit. Because all the other girls have gone hunting, Daphne is invited to join the girls welcoming him. This is what she has been waiting for. She rushes to dress up and mocks herself as she does so. She says she only wants to see him one more time, yet every night she keeps coming back. But there is nothing she can do. It is like she has been possessed by this man. Every time she sees the sun, she thinks about him. When night arrives, she waits for him to visit and is just happy to see him. She can't resist this feeling. Lord Phoebus has no idea a girl is lusting after him so badly. He sits on his throne while waiting for the girls to serve him and wash his hands. He orders all the other girls to leave, asking only 2 to remain. Daphne is lucky to be picked. She finally gets the chance to personally serve him. We discover that the goddess Artemis isn't in the palace. She went into the forest to visit some friends. This is the perfect time for things to go completely wrong. While the other maid speaks to the Lord, Daphne is preparing his water. She is done, but when she looks up, she sees Phoebus staring at her. She stands there in shock. He asks for her name, making her even more nervous. She can't believe he was looking at her and starts blushing. She tells him her name, but her heart won't stop racing. She tries to convince herself it was just a coincidence. Phoebus has never looked at her before. It will be the same this time. Well, new update, girl. The god has already noticed you. He personally calls her over to wash his hands. The sound of her name on his lips makes her wish he can continue calling her forever. You have to know, back then when he called other nymphs, her heart would be full of jealousy. It would consume her, almost making her do something foolish. But now he is finally calling her. Yet she knows how dangerous it is. No matter how happy she is, she must never show it. She begins to serve him, hoping he wouldn't notice how badly she is shaking. But he does, and even teases her by playing with her fingers. The poor girl's brain collapses. Phoebus is amused by how innocent she is, just like a child. When the other maid tries to send her away, he even refuses and calls Daphne adorable. Our girl has fallen completely. She can't even hide how hard she is blushing. The head maid is concerned and tries to warn the Lord. He doesn't need her warning because he knows how fierce his sister is. If he touches this girl, his sister might just shoot him to death. They might be siblings, but even he can't provoke her. Since Daphne is her property, she will guard her tightly. But the protection that once pleased Daphne now makes her sad. She hates hearing herself being called the goddess's property. It makes her feel small and worthless, like an ant underneath the goddess's feet. She tries to console herself by thinking about Phoebus talking to her. Just hearing him speak to her makes her happy. The god also watches her. He notices something and sends the headmaid away, leaving only him and Daphne alone in the room. Our girl is nervous, especially since the Lord keeps staring at her. He even holds her hands. He says his sister has always spoken about her and praises her. He is happy to finally meet her. The god is seriously teasing this girl. Not only does he keep holding on to her, he even praises her for being a good hunter. Now that they are alone, he wants to know everything about her. The naive Daphne is won over by such simple words. She has been feeling like a nameless person in this palace, until Phoebus arrived. Girl, what about the goddess who keeps praising you? Well, she can't remember those people now. Just by calling her name, Phoebus has made her feel special. She happily tells him about her day and how her hunting went. Phoebus is very generous and praises her, making her fall in love more. She can almost hear her heart beating through her fingers. She offers to help him wash his feet, but inside her heart, she is almost crying. If she had known she would be so close to her love today, she would have worn prettier clothes. She panics and imagines herself smelling of blood. The thought makes her disappointed. This is the moment she has been waiting for so long, and she is about to ruin it with her horrible dressing. Daphne is too shy to even look at him, which makes Phoebus laugh. Even when he calls her name, she refuses to look up, making him ask if it is so hard to see her face. She is nervous and tries to cover it up by saying she is afraid to look at him. He is a god, and she is just a lowly nymph, unworthy of even seeing his face. She lies so easily, but she seems to have forgotten the person in front of her is the god of truth. He knows she is lying, and she confirms it when she is unable to admit it is the truth. It turns out Phoebus has known all about her secret crush. He knows she has been watching him from the shadows, yet pretends not to care when he is around. When she thinks he won't notice, she will stare at him with longing. He has known her feelings for a very long time. Phoebus finally understands why his sister hid Daphne away from him. He was confused by how much she distrusted her own brother, always being overprotective of Daphne. He thought she was just afraid of losing a loyal servant. But now it seems that isn't the reason. Artemis wasn't afraid he would want Daphne. She was afraid her servant would fall for him. Such a nice goddess. Unfortunately, it is too late. Phoebus teases her by rubbing her lips. He wonders how his sister would feel when she knows her most loyal servant blushes just because he called her name. He finds it so funny. His sister tried so hard to keep Daphne away from him, afraid she would end up like Callisto, the poor girl that was turned into a bear. Poor Artemis. She never knew it would be her servant who falls in love first. He mocks the nymph for daring to lie to him, the god of truth. She might pretend to be innocent, but now he knows she is not. He gives her one last chance of mercy by not telling Artemis about her betrayal. But from now on, she must act properly. Otherwise, she might be turned into stone. He finds her love funny, remembering how she trembled like a pitiful animal just from washing his feet. Even now, she still blushes. Tired of seeing her, he chases her away. Ever since that day, Daphne felt something die in her. She told herself she had no desire for him, yet why does she feel so sad? Days pass and everything returns to normal. Daphne goes back to hunting, but it is never the same. Every moment she thinks about Phoebus. He is the most perfect god, with a radiance that draws worship from everyone. He is also crazily handsome. His body is like art, though I wonder how he trained those abs. She praises everything about him, even down to his clothes. But all these cannot change the fact that he doesn't want her. She tries to live her life, but the pain keeps following her. Now she regrets being so greedy. The pain wasn't this bad before he knew her. Back then, she could still bear the pain of loving him because it existed only in her mind. It was her precious secret. Something only she knew. Now the pain is so bad, she wonders if the god cursed her. Her entire life has been broken. With just a small smile and a look, he showed her kindness, only to let her sink into despair. When she sees him, she almost dies of anxiety. When she doesn't, she feels suffocated and waits for time to pass so she can see him again. It is truly a wretched prison. But something has indeed changed. Phoebus still comes visiting, and though he still isn't attracted to her, he doesn't pretend like that day never happened. In fact, he would tease her gently in ways only she notices. Behind the goddess's back, he would give her secret looks. He acts like there is a secret between the two of them even the goddess doesn't know of. But her heart isn't moved by those things. It doesn't make her feel special anymore. Her love has now become a weakness. In front of him, she is like a scared child, terrified he would expose her secret at any time. But he wouldn't because he enjoys playing with her, teasing her cruelly, just like now when she's forced to take off his clothes for him. He does that often, personally asking that she serves him. The Daphne of before would have been excited to have this opportunity, But not anymore. She wants nothing more than to avoid him now, but she has no choice. As always, he teases her, secretly holding her fingers. And at that moment, Daphne knows he will always remain her weakness because her heart still loves him. He smiles at her the way a master does to his slave, making her furious. She wonders if he is pleased. He might even be laughing at her, this lowly insect crawling at his feet, desperate to hold on to him. She isn't the same anymore because he has ruined her with his cruelty. She is supposed to be the best hunter, but she can't even kill a single rabbit now. She would watch him leave with another woman and would hate him for it. Yet, another part of her would desperately wish it was her. It was a twisted love story, the beginning of their tragedy. Years passed, but some things still remained the same. For example, Phoebus's torment. Sometimes he would tease her in ways only she could notice. Other times he would hug her publicly, making sure everyone saw them. He could be very cruel today, and very gentle the next day. He was just like a child, curious to know what would make her break. No matter how many years passed, his curiosity never disappeared. Daphne thought it would always remain that way, until Phoebus suddenly stopped visiting. Just like that, he forgot all about her, this toy he loved teasing. He didn't need her heart or her weakness anymore, yet she still desired him. She even wishes she could go back to the times when he would play her like a toy. Back to the present, Daphne has been given an impossible task. The goddess wants her to send a gift over to Phoebus's realm. Daphne doesn't understand why she has been chosen. Artemis knows her brother favors this servant. She believes he would welcome Daphne when she appears with her gift. Daphne can't refuse, but she is still hurt. Everyone thinks Phoebus favors her. After all, even though they were never intimate, he would ask her to personally serve him. As Daphne journeys to find him, she makes up her mind. She is going to ask Phoebus to stop his teasing and consider a relationship between them. She believes after all these years, his feelings must have changed a little. She is tired of waiting and plans to confess her love to him, even if she ends up dead. But what Daphne sees when she enters his palace destroys her. Phoebus is busy pleasuring another woman. She is so shocked. She stands there watching them until Phoebus notices her. Only then does she run away. She can't focus on anything, and it isn't long before she trips and falls over. Now she lies on the forest floor, feeling like her heart is about to be torn to pieces. What disgusts her more is that a part of her still wishes she was that woman. Daphne can't take this pain anymore and sends a prayer to the goddess of love. She begs Aphrodite to give her a chance with Phoebus. Just one chance for him to treat her like a woman and not just a toy. All she needs is his love. She is willing to sacrifice her life for it. But even she finds her request ridiculous. She doesn't know where to go and decides to return back to Artemis's palace. She drops Phoebus's gift and vows never to return to this place again. Daphne might not have meant it, but the love goddess Aphrodite has heard her prayer. As we said earlier, everything began with the little god, Eros, the son of Aphrodite. From a young age, Eros has always been a troublemaker. He would sneak out from his mother's palace and roam around Earth with the small bow and arrows his mother gave him. He would visit all the gods' realms, causing chaos wherever he went. He had 2 arrows in his bow. The golden arrow will make you fall in love with the first person you see, while the lead arrow will cause you to hate the person to death. Little Eros was as playful as his mother. He would target humans, hitting them with his love arrows. If his scheme is successful, he would enjoy the love story. If something goes wrong, he would run away immediately. The chaos will be left for the gods of the land to settle, always making them suffer. And now this little troublemaker has appeared in Phoebus's realm. It seems he has caused some trouble, but the other smaller gods can't handle him. Lord Phoebus has to appear personally to take care of this little tyrant. The boy who caused the trouble isn't bothered and is even eating an apple. Lord Phoebus isn't pleased with him pretending not to know his name. When the boy gets annoyed, Phoebus says it is his mother's fault for giving him an insignificant name. Ouch. Eros lists all of Phoebus's names. He remembers every name given to Phoebus and thinks this makes him smarter than the god of wisdom. Phoebus bursts his bubbles and tells him memorizing names doesn't make him smart. If that were the case, all the humans in the world would be wise. Eros mocks Phoebus for having so many names, accusing him of enjoying human flattery. Phoebus reminds him he isn't the one seeking the attention of mortals with his bow. He isn't like Eros, who is desperate to use his powers to win human favor. The little god would blind the eyes of humans and beasts with his arrows, using them to play his little games. He enjoys watching them run around in confusion, believing he is doing something great. Meanwhile, all he has is this little bit of power. Eros is hurt. Since he can't bully Phoebus, he tries to bully the god's subject. However, Phoebus won't let him. He warns him not to look down on the god of day. Eros might have a higher position, but his power cannot compare to that of the lesser god. In fact, the day god is even more important than Eros. Eros cannot believe Phoebus is comparing him to a lesser god. He says, His power of love is the greatest, a statement that makes Phoebus laugh. He can't believe Eros just compared the power of love to time. Every god has a divine authority that humans worship. Phoebus' subject, the god of day, can control time. His power can affect even the gods of Olympus. Phoebus asks Eros what his own power achieves. No god is controlled by his divine authority. Instead, he can only bully humans. Eros keeps saying love is powerful, yet his own mother treats it as a game. He tells Eros the hard truth. His divine authority is useless, simply a toy. He can never compare to Phoebus. Seriously, if I was Eros, my self-esteem would be damaged. The little god is feeling bad, but Phoebus doesn't stop. He tells the young god the only reason the day god didn't resist him is because of his fear of Aphrodite. Everyone knows how vengeful she is. He tells Eros to stop calling himself powerful when he is only relying on his mother's power. The more he does this, the more he proves he is just a child. Eros doesn't want to agree with Phoebus's evaluation of him, saying the older god knows nothing about him. Phoebus doesn't care to know more. He already knows one truth. Until Eros awakens his power, he will forever remain a child. Eros can't contain his anger and packs up his things. He says Phoebus must be interested in him. What a joke. Phoebus is happy to see him leave and warns him not to appear in his realm again or disturb his people. He tells Eros he doesn't care about his power or divine authority because he doesn't value them. To him, love will always be beneath logic. Eros is so annoyed, he returns home to his mother and lays on her lap, crying. His mother thinks he is cute and cuddles him. She even praises her son for remaining innocent, saying it is the reason why so many people's love remains pure. When he asks why she isn't angry, she tells him Phoebus was probably playing a prank on him. Eros becomes annoyed, thinking his mother is also making fun of him. But Aphrodite isn't. She can't do anything to Phoebus. But that doesn't mean Eros can't use his divine authority on him. She gives Eros an idea. Just as Phoebus can use his arrows to kill a powerful beast, Eros can also use his arrows to kill the god's heart. Aphrodite advises Eros to use his love arrows on Phoebus. She thinks the god is too prideful, always relying on his past deeds to act arrogant. She is also secretly doing this so she can destroy Phoebus and Artemis. The siblings' power of reason and restraint is so great, the humans have forgotten all about love. Aphrodite pities the nymphs who worship Artemis, not knowing how heartless she is. The last time her father Zeus defiled one of her nymphs, she didn't blame him. Instead, she punished the nymph for breaking her vow and turned her into a bear. Even worse, she made the girl's friends hunt her down as prey. Till the end, Artemis had no pity for the girl. Aphrodite dislikes their behavior, which they disguise as restraint. She finds it funny because another of Artemis's nymphs has betrayed her and fallen in love. But Aphrodite isn't bothered by the goddess. She's more angry at Phoebus, who dared to insult her and her son. He always praises his power of reason and says love is beneath it. Aphrodite thinks he is just arrogant and is determined to destroy him. The only way to do that is to make him fall under the power of love. And that is how this whole story begins. That very night, 2 different arrows were shot from Eros' bow. The golden arrow, which inspires love, and the lead arrow that causes endless hatred. That night, Daphne has a terrible nightmare. In her dream, she becomes a deer and is being chased by her own friends. In the end, she is caught and hit with an arrow. She begs her friends to recognize her, but it turns out they already do. They just think she is an animal who betrayed her master. Therefore, she deserves death. Daphne wakes up crying, only to discover it is a dream. When she looks around, she realizes she is in Phoebus's forest. It seems the girl has forgotten everything that happened. She can't remember how she got here, wondering why she woke up in a strange land. She even thinks her goddess might have found out about her feelings for Phoebus and sent her here as a punishment. She dismisses that thought because the last time she saw the goddess, there was nothing strange. For some reason, everything she sees here, even the stones, makes her disgusted. She is afraid something might have really happened to her. Just as Daphne is confused, a man suddenly appears in front of her. It is Lord Phoebus. To her shock, he seems happy to see her and even calls her his own. Just like her, he had a dream. In his dream, she was lost in his forest all alone. Just seeing how scared she was in the dream made him very sad. Daphne thinks this is all madness. Why is Phoebus in front of her, taking care of her? How did she get here and how did the god appear in this forest? In fact, where the hell is she? Well, girl, you're going to be confused for a long time. Phoebus is now holding her hands and even kisses it. He promises her she isn't dreaming. She is now in his land, safe with him. Daphne can't believe it. When she looks into Phoebus's eyes, she sees a look that scares her. She pushes him away, certain this man cannot be the god. He must have been switched because the Phoebus she knows would never stare at her like she is the only woman he loves. She keeps rejecting him because this can't be real. He thinks the night goddess Hecate might have pranked her and tries to make her believe she isn't dreaming anymore. But Daphne doesn't care because she has far more bigger problems. If it was before, she would be jumping with joy at the thought of Phoebus loving her. The her of before would be happy to see him holding and touching her. But Daphne can't feel any joy right now. She had dreamed of this moment 1,000 times over. But now that it is actually happening, the only thing she feels is disgust. Imagine this feeling. You have wished for something your whole life, but when it finally happens, all you feel is disgust and dread. That is what Daphne is going through right now. Phoebus thinks she is still in love with him, when in fact she can't even remember the feeling of loving him. Everything about him makes her skin crawl. Not long ago, she was desperate for him to touch her. Now, even his touch feels very horrifying. Those memories of loving him feel very distant, almost as if she never even loved him. Phoebus has no idea the girl is horrified by him. He thinks she abandoned his sister and came here because she is in love with him. He doesn't know she's heartbroken by this fact. She can't believe she broke her vow and came to him all by herself. It is impossible. She remembers her dream. The thought is so horrifying, she starts running away from the god. She has to get out of here and away from this man before the goddess finds out and turns her into a deer. She is so out of it, she doesn't hear Phoebus begging her to stop. The place she is running to is very dangerous. Just like he expected, she trips and is about to fall, but he saves her. He carries her like a princess, scared because he almost lost her just like he dreamt. But his love just makes Daphne more disgusted. He insists on carrying her back, making her confused. He is treating her like a precious lover, even stroking her back to help her calm down. But even his touch is horrifying. She begs him to let her go, desperate to return to the goddess Artemis. All her efforts to push him away are just a waste. He doesn't even let her create a small space, desperate to feel her skin. She is scared someone might see them until he reminds her this is his territory. She has nothing to be afraid of here. Daphne thinks some god must be playing a prank on her. All she did was dream, and then she woke up in an unfamiliar land. Even worse, it has to be Phoebus's realm. She doesn't know why she is here. Phoebus answers her question and says her heart brought her here. He tries to kiss her, but she only feels disgust and pushes him away. He thinks she is just confused, but he doesn't know she detests him. He keeps looking at her like a greedy snake, ready to eat her all up. She tries to trick him into letting her go, but he sees through her plan. If he lets her leave, she will never come back. Daphne also knows she can't return back to Artemis. She already left the goddess' side, and even worse, ran over to her brother's land. If Artemis ever finds out, she is going to die. She is annoyed and blames it all on Phoebus. She still insists on leaving. Phoebus tells her this isn't a prank. She keeps shaking, so he knows she is also afraid. She knows what will happen to her if she returns. Daphne thinks the goddess would show her mercy. Phoebus is confused by her resistance, wondering why she keeps resisting him. He believes she is just denying her feelings. He tells her just by stepping into his land, she has betrayed the goddess. Everyone knows how possessive Artemis is. If he sends Daphne back, the goddess will kill her. Now Daphne has nowhere to go. Phoebus doesn't want her to worry. He plans to take her back to his palace. From now on, she will live with him. Phoebus tells Daphne she will be living with him from now on, making her panic. She tries to struggle, but he doesn't allow her to resist. The god of dawn is already awake, and he must return to his palace to begin his duties. When they return to his palace, he tells her about his dream. In the dream, she ran away from Artemis and came to him. Unfortunately, she got lost in the woods while desperately looking for him. She was scared and kept calling his name, but no one answered. He expresses his feelings. When he saw her scared and trembling, all he wanted was to hold and comfort her. When she started crying, his heart broke and he hated himself. Immediately, he woke up. He went searching for her in the forest, but couldn't find her. For the first time, the god felt fear. He walked around the forest, searching for her like some weak human. But he doesn't see it as a weakness. He is just happy to hold his beloved and finally bring her into his palace. Daphne finds his story unbelievable, but Phoebus is the god of truth and prophecy. Everything he says must be the truth. His dreams are like prophecies, and he can never speak a lie. She has no choice but to believe him, but that doesn't mean she believes his story about loving her. They have spent years together, yet all he did was torment her. For years, he treated her cruelly, enjoying her suffering. He would ignore her for years, but once he notices her love fading, he would appear and revive it with some kindness. She was like a toy he could play with whenever he pleased. And yet such a man falls in love with her overnight. The god also notices her disbelief. He doesn't know how to prove his love, but Daphne doesn't need him to. He is the god of truth. If he says he loves her, then he really loves her. But she isn't happy. Not too long ago, she had desired him. She needed him to look at her like a lover and treat her well. Yet now that he is doing these things, she hates it very much. Her heart and her mind are going through different emotions. Unfortunately, she doesn't know she has been cursed by Eros. She is still wondering what could have made Phoebus change so suddenly, and also twisted her heart, making her hate him. Phoebus keeps trying to convince her this is the right decision. She left Artemis' palace, betraying the goddess on her own. Not even the gods can change this fact. Still, Daphne still wants to go back. She would rather be punished by Artemis than stay with Phoebus. He mocks her for having such foolish thoughts. There is no way she can ever see the goddess again. While she is still sad, he hugs her, happy they can finally spend time together. He wants to get intimate with her, but she isn't interested. She keeps saying something is wrong. Certain something must have happened to change his feelings towards her. The thing we never imagined could happen does. The arrogant Phoebus actually apologizes. The god tells her how sorry he is for mistreating her over the years. He doesn't want them to waste any more time and promises to make it up to her. From now on, they will spend their days together. He is still arrogant, however, believing nothing strange has happened. After all, he is the awesome god of truth. In fact, he believes Daphne is trying to deceive herself. She must have become too used to hiding her feelings. He tells her not to hide her love anymore, asking her to forget all about the goddess. However, Daphne refuses. Even if she isn't physically with the goddess, she can never forget her. Her heart and love will remain with Artemis forever. No matter what, she belongs to her. Now Phoebus is really angry. He doesn't even let her talk and just pushes her into the bed. He starts getting intimate with her, desperate to change her mind. When she keeps resisting him, he warns her to stop. If she continues, he might become jealous of his own sister. He tries to get intimate with her, saying they have wasted too much time apart. Daphne is losing her mind. She doesn't understand why something she longed for now makes her irritated. His touch brings her pleasure, yet she feels a deep hatred for him every time he speaks. She hates it when he pretends like he has loved her for a long time. All those years, she was the only one enduring, watching him pleasure different women. While she was bound by Artemis's rules, he enjoyed himself, watching her heart shatter every time. He would give her hope, only to ruin it the next second. Now, he pretends like he has always loved her. She asks the god to think because his behavior right now is very strange. For many years, he treated her like a dog, amusing himself with her love for him. It was even more fun because she was a nymph who had sworn chastity to his sister. He never considered her worthy of sharing his bed. Yet now, he is suddenly in love with her. She believes he must be under a prank from the night goddess. Phoebus refuses to listen. The night goddess might deceive people with false dreams, but she can't affect him. He is the sun god, and this is his territory. He believes Daphne is trapped in the goddess prank. He takes her out into the sun, trying to wake her up from the night goddess's dream. Daphne is convinced by his words. The situation now is too confusing, making her believe she is really dreaming. She thinks she might have fallen into a bad dream when she entered the forest. That is the only way she can explain what is happening right now. Phoebus starts to get intimate with her, promising to treat her better. He would pamper her until she forgets any anger she has towards him. He would never allow anyone to disrespect her. She allows him to touch her, thinking everything is just a dream. His love for her, his touch, and even the man himself cannot be real. The two start kissing, getting intimate. He praises her throughout, obsessed with how beautiful she is. They enjoy themselves for a very long time. Yet Daphne is confused. This might be a dream, but the feelings are too real. His touch and the emotions she is feeling doesn't seem fake. It makes her even more confused. Right now, she can't resist the god. She is afraid she might commit the unforgivable sin even in her dream. She wants to wake up so badly, but Phoebus is giving her too much pleasure. The two are finally done. Phoebus goes to work, leaving her to rest. She is angry at herself for giving in to her desire. Lady Artemis's will never forgive her. All her hopes of returning to her goddess palace have been ruined. This stupid dream has turned into a nightmare that would haunt her for the rest of her life. That night, she had another dream. This time, there are two Daphne. The real her is trapped, while the other one mocks her unrequited love. She is so desperate to have the god, she even dreams about him. The fake her says no god will be willing to love Daphne. Everything that happened was a dream. The lady mocks her miserable life. She begged to be loved by him, but when it happens, she hates herself. She is living a nightmare. The fake Daphne wonders if Artemis would pity Daphne if she knows how miserable the experience was for her. The lady wants her to face the consequences and accept her divine punishment. Even if this was a dream, she chose to be with Phoebus. It doesn't matter if she is dreaming or awake anymore. As long as she has found pleasure in a man, she is unworthy of returning to Artemis's side. From now on, her life will be full of so much despair. She would beg to be turned into a tree instead. Daphne wakes up to a harsh reality. Everything that happened between her and Phoebus was real. None of it was fake. She wasn't trapped in any dream and had actually been intimate with the god. She is shocked by this and decides to run away. Nighttime is approaching, so she must escape before Phoebus comes back. Unfortunately, she can't. Not only are her clothes missing, Phoebus's attendants would also drag her back as soon as she steps out. Still, she is determined to leave this palace. She has no one to rely on, only herself. No one would help her. The gods, they all serve Phoebus. The nymphs, they all love and desire him. There is no way they would betray him just to help her. Now she sees the difference between him and Artemis. The goddess was never concerned about worship, only caring for the hunt and freedom. Phoebus, on the other hand, commanded respect and worship from the humans. Even his palace is like a kingdom. Daphne doesn't understand why she isn't happy. Such a powerful god is in love with her, yet all she feels is shame and despair. People fall in love in a minute, but in her case, she suddenly fell into hatred overnight. She doesn't love him anymore, so nothing he does makes her happy. His lips, his touch, they all disgust her. The hatred is so much, she even feels like destroying her skin and her body just because he touched it. She desperately wishes she could become a beast and be killed with an arrow just because he touched her. She feels like she is going crazy. She really needs to escape from here. She finds a piece of cloth that belongs to Phoebus and puts it on. She starts running but is soon lost in the huge palace. It is nighttime, meaning Phoebus will soon be back. She is so scared she trips and falls. She plans to get back up, but suddenly her legs stop moving. She tries desperately to move, but it is too late. Phoebus is here. He is annoyed by how stubborn she is. Even after his warning, she still tries to escape. He is worried she might have hurt herself. He thinks she is still trapped in Hecate's dream and wants to get her out. He tries to touch her, but she rejects him harshly, pushing him away. He doesn't listen, forcefully holding her. He warns her current stubbornness might be cute, but her pretending to dislike him is unnecessary. He casts a spell on her to help her wake up, but she just falls asleep instead. He carries the sleeping girl in his arms and heads back to the bedroom. Phoebus doesn't know, but someone is watching him. Above the palace, a god with winged shoes and a sword shakes his head. Things have gone really bad. Lord Phoebus is on his daily duties when he notices someone causing a commotion on his land. He stops to question the culprit, who turns out to be Hermes. Hermes greets Phoebus, but makes sure to stay far away. Phoebus's sun chariot is no joke. He is sure Apollo must have known about his arrival. Phoebus denies it. He might be the god of prophecy, but even he can't know everything that happens. He scolds Hermes for always appearing without warning. Hermes defends himself. He is Zeus's special messenger after all. I didn't know gods stole, but Phoebus is sure that is what Hermes came here to do. He is after all the god of merchants and thieves. He either wants to steal or bargain. Either way, he isn't here for a vacation. Hermes isn't here to steal, but to pour out his sorrows. Because Phoebus has angered the goddess, all the other gods are suffering. Even him, Zeus's messenger, isn't spared. Ever since Daphne vanished, the goddess released all her hunting dogs into the forest. He only went to deliver Zeus's message, yet he is ambushed by several large dogs. He manages to escape them, only for the goddess to shoot her silver arrows at him. In the end, he had to hide behind a large rock, crying and shaking. Don't worry, it is just a regular day in the trials of Hermes. Phoebus listens to the god complain about his sorrows while he keeps laughing. Knowing how much Artemis cares about Daphne, he will have to make it up to her properly. He tells Hermes to hide this secret from his sister. He says Daphne is his future bride, so he has to protect her from his sister at all cost. Hermes isn't a fool. Artemis already suspects her brother. Because he is close to Phoebus, she probably treats him like an accomplice too. Phoebus has stopped attending the gods' meeting at Olympus, making Hermes curious. The god of wine and the goddess of wheat have made fresh wine and ambrosia. Just thinking of it makes Hermes glow like the sun. He is such a happy baby. Unfortunately, Phoebus has had enough of the gods' sweetness. He wants to know what new things have happened in the realm of the gods. Hermes is such a big gossip, telling him about the god Zephyrus. Just like Phoebus, he has fallen in love. His lover is the arrogant flower goddess Chloris. Unfortunately, she wouldn't even look at him. Phoebus, however, is proud, warning Hermes not to compare him to Zephyrus. He is different because his own lover actually adores him. Zephyrus might have a one-sided love, but he, Phoebus, has his lover's adoration. But Hermes is also confused. Everyone knows how much Phoebus values reason and logic over emotions. For him to suddenly fight with his sister over a nymph seems very strange. Since Phoebus defends himself and says he is right, Hermes decides to leave. He wants to know if Phoebus has a message for his sister. Phoebus orders a new bow to be made for her. That is the only thing that could calm her anger. Poor Hermes imagines going back there and begins to cry again. His life is really full of suffering. Before Hermes leaves, he warns Phoebus about Aphrodite and her son. They are just like roses with thorns. If Phoebus keeps provoking them, he might end up bleeding one day. In fact, knowing how unpredictable the goddess of love is, she might have already pricked him. But Phoebus can't understand this warning. He thinks Hermes is just saying nonsense. Hermes tells him his instincts are always sharp, but he doesn't explain more. He begs Phoebus to make peace with his sister because it is the other gods who suffer. The two gods say their goodbyes and return to their duties. Phoebus returns to his palace. He is done for the day, and it is time for his sister, the moon goddess, to take over. He is happy, wondering if his lover is awake. She has been sleeping for almost a day. He regrets having to work. If not, he could have watched his beloved sleep. It turns out he was never ignoring Daphne. All those years, she was always too afraid, almost driving him into frustration. Still, at the end, she came to him willingly. He thinks she is just like his sister. She changes emotions as quickly as his sister does. He doesn't care about Zephyrus or what Aphrodite and her son are planning. Every woman he knows has always fallen in love with him. He believes Daphne's resistance is just temporary. She loves him, and that is a truth nobody can change. Except it no longer is. He returns to his room only to see his lover is already awake. She is being dressed by his maids, looking absolutely stunning. She is indeed worthy to be his queen. He is worried about her injured ankle and checks on it. He tells her to stop stressing and only focus on her health. From now on, all she needs to do is rely on him. He expresses his feelings, but she refuses to say a single word. He tells her to rest and suggests taking her to bed. I'm confused. Did she just dress up only to go back to bed? Well, it seems so because he actually carries her into the bedroom. Daphne keeps crying. During the day when he leaves, the hatred in her seems to fade. But once night falls, it returns, making her sick of him. She is full of anger as she remembers her failed escape. She used all her strength, yet she couldn't even make it past the door. The last thing she remembers is him using his power to make her fall asleep. She asks him if he doesn't find her behavior strange. She came into his land on her own, eager to see him. Yet now she is screaming and begging him to let her go. He doesn't think it is strange, however, because his own sister always has such mood changes. He thinks she must have learned it after serving the goddess for a long time. He even believes she is having delusions. Daphne is tired of explaining. No matter what she says, he believes her strange behavior is just because of mood swings. He uses the intimate time they spent on the terrace against her. She accepted his touch because she loves him. He never forced her, she chose to accept him on her own. He remembers how she was in the past, never able to hide her love for him. Yet she had to do so because of the vow she swore to the goddess. He says she must have felt guilty for betraying Artemis and decided to deny everything by convincing herself it was all a dream. He thinks she is angry and regretful. He believes her resistance is temporary. Soon she would be back to loving him. Daphne only agrees with one thing. She really regrets ever allowing him to touch her. She woke up in a strange land, and suddenly he appeared before her, treating her like a lover. She thought it was a dream because it made no sense. If she had known it wasn't a dream, she would never have followed him or allowed him to touch her. It is too late now, but she still wants to go back. Phoebus doesn't like to hear those words. He can tell she still wants to return to his sister's palace and tells her it is impossible. Only one fate awaits her if she returns to Artemis. But Daphne doesn't care at all. She knows she will end up like Callisto and is ready to accept her punishment. She knows Phoebus's feelings can change at any time. One day, he might decide to get rid of her. She would rather die at the hands of her lovely goddess Artemis than allow this hideous god to end her life. She feels very guilty. Just by loving Phoebus, she had already betrayed the goddess for many years. In the end, she still betrayed her physically by sleeping with Phoebus. She knows there is no way Artemis would let her live. All she can pray for is that the goddess gives her a swift death. She wonders when her life started to go wrong and concludes it must have been from the first moment she saw Phoebus. That was the day all her problems started. Right now, all that is left of that love is a deep resentment. She's already used to him playing with her feelings. She believes this new love for her must be a new game he created just to find some amusement. She regrets ever loving such a vile being like him. She just wants to let everything go and disappear. She has made up her mind and tells him to let her go. He has already had his fun with her, so now she wants to return to the goddess side. She reminds him of how he always toyed with her love, giving her hope and yet crushing it. She wonders how amusing it was for him to watch a lowly nymph like her beg for his love. Just like he always did before, she wants him to stand back and watch her life. Phoebus is annoyed. She acts like he purposely toyed with her, treating her like a game. He tries to confess his feelings, to let her know it was never a game for him. But he can't. Since he can't use words to express his feelings, he decides to get intimate with her to show her how much he loves her. She tries to resist him, but he is too strong. He says he has always desired her, but she would be a fool to believe him. All those years, he toyed with her like she was an insect. He has always been a playboy, playing around with women and throwing them away. Now he suddenly wants to play around with an insect like her. He doesn't even care about his dignity as the sun god anymore. Daphne suspects he must be under a goddess prank, or even worse, playing a game with her. She is so angry, she curses him and calls him different horrible names. I certainly can't repeat those words, but in short, she says there is nothing good about him. She declares his tricks won't work on her anymore because she has stopped loving him. Phoebus refuses to accept this truth. He keeps saying her feelings can't change overnight. He is angry at the words she said, comparing him to a foolish boy and making him out to be some wretched man. Daphne is shocked when she sees the look on his face. Phoebus actually looks hurt. Daphne believes her life would soon end, but before it does, she wants to know why Phoebus's behavior suddenly changed. After treating her like an insect he could abandon any time, why did he bring her to his palace? For many years, all he ever did was cause her pain. Now he stares at her, acting like he has been hurt. She cries as she asks why he has always been so cruel to her. Even after she said she wants to return back to Artemis, he refuses to listen. Instead, he dresses her up in fancy clothes, treating her like a doll. Phoebus is tired of her saying this. He can't understand her. She has always loved him and even entered his forest to find him. She didn't reject him the last time they got intimate, so why is she suddenly treating him like she hates him? Like all typical males, he can't understand her and decides that the only way they can end the arguments is by getting intimate. Except Daphne doesn't want to at all. She tries to push him away, but he is too strong. Phoebus is as arrogant as ever, thinking she just wants to get revenge on him for everything he made her suffer. He can tell she resents him and decides to teach her how to get her revenge. The nymph tries her best to resist the god, but he is just too strong. No matter what she does, she can't push him off. She is starting to lose her breath. The god finally stops and tells her what his brilliant method is. It is so smart, it would get an F if graded. He actually wants her to deceive herself into loving him. Even though she resents and hates him anytime he touches her, she must act like she is interested. She must kiss him back and hold him tightly. He doesn't care about her feelings. As long as she's here, she must get rid of that hatred and pretend to desire him even if she doesn't. Such a disgustingly cruel god. He says only by pretending like she loves him will she get her revenge. He doesn't want to know why she appeared in his forest or what she feels for him. He just wants her feelings to remain the same. The proud god finally shows some weakness. He desperately tries to convince himself she still loves him. He is willing to let her hate him or torment him. All he begs for is that she remains by his side. Daphne has never seen this side of him. He is worshipped by everyone, always surrounded by noble and beautiful things. As a god, nothing dirty can come near him. Yet, here he is begging a dirty woman like her to remain by his side. He wants a woman who broke her vow to the goddess, a woman whose life can't even be compared to an insect. He keeps telling her to get her revenge, but what can a lowly nymph like her do in front of a god? If she isn't careful, she can even lose her life in an instant. When he keeps trying to touch her, she tells him this is assault. Just that word is enough to destroy the god. But seeing him shattered isn't enough for her. Something inside her keeps controlling her, wanting her to cause him more pain. She hates him for toying with her and now acting like a desperate lover. Phoebus destroys her wish to go back when he tells her the goddess already knows she is here. After a day passed and Artemis didn't see her, she released all her hunters into the forest, searching for Daphne desperately. When he saw how desperate she was, he felt pity. He appeared to his sister in the dream and told her the truth. He told her everything, including the intimate moment he shared with Daphne and how much the nymph desires him, but all Daphne can think about is how she missed the chance to escape. She is hurt when she realizes she could have returned to the goddess if he hadn't stopped her. Phoebus tells her his sister would have killed her if she went back. He knows she wants to confess her sins to his sister and let her take her life, but he would never allow that. If she dies, he can never see her again. He might be a god, but even he is powerless in the face of death. Daphne doesn't care about his feelings. She knew she had defiled Artemis with her heart, but hoped her body was still pure. Then she could return to Artemis and end her life with a pure body, instead of allowing this vile being to defile her. But it is too late. Seeing her so distracted, Phoebus can tell she is thinking about his sister, and it makes him jealous. He warns her to stop. He might like her desperate look, but it is making him impatient. All she needs to do is rely on him, and he will give her everything she needs. Phoebus knows she is afraid, but he doesn't want her to be. He will never hurt her and vows to always cherish her. All he wants is for her to give him her love. Daphne cannot accept any of it. She never thought she would see the god beg for her love one day. She can tell something is wrong because why did she suddenly wake up in his forest? And why, after ignoring her for many years, is he suddenly in love with her? None of it makes sense. He is finally in love with her, treating her like she is his precious treasure. And yet, after praying for this moment for so long, the only thing she feels is resentment mixed with desire. The feeling of resenting him and still wanting him is too much. His face disgusts her, yet she can't push him away. It makes her feel like a terrible person. Ever since she met the god, her mind and heart already shattered. Back to the present, Phoebus has learned his lesson. Now he asks for her permission before he gets intimate. But the nymph doesn't care anymore. He has never cared about her feelings before, so she doesn't need him to start now. Just like he always has, she tells him to treat her like a toy. Phoebus knows he can't change her mind, so he agrees with her. He also reminds her to use his method. No matter what happens, his feelings for her will never change. All he wants to do is pleasure her and make her happy. The two start another round of bedroom activities. He tries to treat her gently and protect her, but she hates it. She even bites herself on purpose. Phoebus doesn't know what to do anymore. He can't stop her from hurting herself. He has a request from her. He wants her to deny those harsh words she said. He is desperate to know her rejection was just an act to punish him. He wants to hear her say she loves him. He is acting very gentle, but Daphne just dislikes him more. She would prefer it if he was still as cruel as before. She doesn't want him to care about her feelings, yet he keeps staring at her like he loves her. She just wants him to treat her like he did before. Like an animal. A night of pleasure passes. While Phoebus enjoys himself, Daphne sheds tears of pain. In her palace, the goddess who caused this mess is busy enjoying a nice bath. Her attendants praise her beauty, which makes her smug. What makes her even happier is imagining the troubles Phoebus is going through right now. Gossips with her attendants, asking them how they would feel if they suddenly hated someone they have loved for many years. That is exactly what Daphne is going through. Aphrodite, always one to cause trouble, decided to pierce Daphne with the arrow that causes hatred. Then, she shot the arrow of love into the proud Phoebus. Since he has always despised love, she wants him to have a taste of it. But she doesn't give him a love-filled passion and joy. Instead, she curses him with a love story filled with anger, hatred, and resentment. He has always been the god of wisdom and logic, but now he will suffer from the pain of love and hate. His beloved nymph would go through 12 different feelings for him, and none of them would be positive. Aphrodite is happy because Phoebus has already lost this battle. As long as he doesn't understand love, he will continue to suffer. Happy with the trouble she has caused, she goes out on a walk. She sees the sun and knows Phoebus is still going about his duties, walking around proudly. However, he will soon crumble. She feels no pity for him, and even blames him for spoiling her mood. She will only free him when he kneels at her feet and begs like a dog. But she knows he won't. He has lived for eternity, and the only thing he values is logic. As a god, he can never change his divine nature. Unfortunately for him, humans are always the quickest to change. Even though they have limited time, they spend it changing their minds. And this is why Phoebus can't accurately see the future. Humans, using their free will, even dare to insult the gods, desperate to master their own fate. Aphrodite thinks they are interesting and pitiful creatures, just like Daphne. She is ready to watch Daphne struggle like a human, curious to know how their love story will end. Daphne has no idea someone is watching her suffering like a movie. Every day she comes out to stare at the sky, but it doesn't take away her agony. Her mind is a mess. Her emotions change 12 times a day. When Phoebus leaves, she feels relief. When the sun rises, she becomes dizzy with longing, desperate to see him. When evening arrives and he comes back, all she wants is to disappear from his sight. She is a mess. She dislikes this feeling of resenting him, yet desiring his pleasure. She finds no comfort in the night and day. Both fill her with regret and self-loathing. Her life is full of despair, running like a cycle. In the morning, the maids wake up and dress her up like a doll. Desperate to escape, she falls into dreams, only to be woken up when he arrives. She has lost herself, no longer having any motivation or will to survive. She remembers her life before Phoebus. When the beautiful goddess rose with the moon, she would chase after her light, hunting with her friends. She loved the forest and the feeling of freedom that it gave her. Back then, her face was always full of joy. Those were the days when she was truly alive and happy. Daphne remembers her old life. She ran away from home because she despised the idea of marrying those disgusting men and bearing their children. All she wanted was her freedom, and yet here she is right now, trapped in a god's palace. What an irony. Daphne can't bear the pain anymore. She kneels and cries to the gods, begging them to take pity on her and free her. But who would answer her prayers? Is it Artemis who refuses to have her purity defiled? Or Zeus who defiled Callisto and caused her death? Right now, the gods are all the same to her. In the face of their own needs, humans are worthless to them. They would play with humans without any guilt, treating them as toys to fulfill their desires. The gods care only about themselves. They will never save humans. From now on, the only person she can rely on is herself. Rather that trust in those useless gods, she would believe in herself. She makes up her mind and begins to plan her escape. She made a mistake the last time, running away without making any plans. This time she will make sure she is prepared. Her first step is to learn all the paths in the palace. Phoebus had given his permission for her to roam his realm, allowing her to leave the palace without the maids stopping her. She will use this chance to memorize all the forest paths. Once she leaves here, she will return to her father's home to hide. She is done wasting her days crying over what has happened. As a huntress, she is more familiar with the forest than Phoebus. Even if she can't win, she has no choice but to try her best. Phoebus has no idea his beloved is planning to escape. He is here to visit the love-struck Zephyrus. The poor man lies under a tree, desperately calling his beloved's name. Phoebus meets him in that state and makes a remark about how lost he looks. Zephyrus, the wind god, is known to move between places without any reason. But Phoebus is sure the god has a purpose for coming to his realm. Every god has heard about Zephyrus' love story. Hermes keeps insisting his situation is the same as Zephyrus, but Phoebus doesn't believe him. The wind god looks like he is going through torture. He wants to know more about Zephyrus' love story. A god falling in love is never a new story. They all have too much time to waste and spend it playing around with humans. Phoebus is only interested because it is Zephyrus. The god of wind is known to have no direction. For all eternity, he has moved around, full of boredom. He has never shown interest in any being, either god or human. Yet such a god is suddenly in love. When the god refuses to talk, Phoebus begins to get impatient. He isn't one to waste time and demands to know why Zephyrus is looking for him. The wind god finally speaks. He is here to seek Phoebus' help. He wants Phoebus to help him win over his beloved Chloris. However, even Phoebus is helpless. The goddess of flowers is known to be a very prideful woman. She refuses to bow even in front of a higher god like Phoebus. He tells Zephyrus he won't be able to win her heart so easily. But the wind god doesn't care. He knows how much Chloris loves her flowers and begs Phoebus to make them bloom. That way, he can finally make her happy and see her smile. Phoebus finds the situation unbelievable. Among all the gods, Zephyrus was the most unbothered. Forget about love. He didn't even care about pleasure or desire. He lived like an old monk, moving between different worlds. Everything felt meaningless to him. Even life itself had no meaning. To Zephyrus, his eternity was a curse. He would even disappear at times, making some gods weep while others rejoiced. He never cared about anything, not even the gods themselves. And yet such a being has come to beg for his help just to make a goddess smile. Phoebus wonders if love is really that powerful. Zephyrus mentions the rumors about Phoebus quarreling with Eros. However, Phoebus doesn't think much of it. To him, he was just amusing the love god. He looks down on Eros, thinking he is just a child and not worthy of being his equal. Among all the gods, Phoebus believes his power of reason remains superior. Zephyrus didn't come here to speak for Eros. He doesn't care about such a troublesome child and doesn't want to be involved in their quarrels. He confesses and tells Phoebus he was right. To Zephyrus, his eternity was a curse. The humans worshipped and desired it, but to him it was torture. Every day felt the same to him, endless and full of emptiness. People worshipped his wind as a sign of freedom, but it was a sign of his empty spirit. He moved around with nowhere to go, living a meaningless life. He thought his life would forever remain that way, until he saw her. She was going about her day, smiling upon her flowers. Just one look and he knew his previously empty life had now found a meaning. He was a mess, desperately craving her presence. All he wanted was to see her happy. He just wanted to exist in a world where she exists. Because of that, he gained purpose. He has to keep living, carrying out his duties forever, just for her sake. He was eager to share his feelings with her, but she was indifferent to him. She wasn't moved by his love. He did everything, bought her jewels, gave her special wine, yet nothing could move her heart. The only thing that made her happy was seeing her flowers blooming under Phoebus' sunlight. Phoebus is amused by Zephyrus' wish. He dares to talk about dreams before the god of reason. Zephyrus challenges him, asking him about his own love. He doesn't believe Phoebus doesn't dream like him. Our male lead is boastful and tells Zephyrus they aren't the same. His own lover actually loves him. He is proud of himself because he hasn't lost his reason. Unlike Zephyrus, he still believes in his laws. The wind god doesn't care about logic and reason. All he knows is that you can't love someone and expect to keep your logic. If Phoebus keeps doing that, he will regret it one day. Phoebus doesn't agree, but still chooses to fulfill his request. He knows Zephyrus just wants to please his lover and prays the god's effort would move her heart. Zephyrus is surprised. He didn't think Phoebus would actually help him. Of course, Phoebus isn't doing it for free. He has a request. Zephyrus must bring flowers to his wedding. This announcement shocks Zephyrus so much he has to sit up straight. Phoebus assures him he hasn't heard wrong. He plans to hold a big wedding and make Daphne his queen. Phoebus returns home happily, but he notices something is wrong. The maids all look uneasy when they see him. After questioning them, he figures out why. His Daphne is missing. Back to a few hours ago. The maids gather around gossiping about Daphne. The first one is worried about her unusual behavior. Normally, she would go for a walk around noon, but she has been in her room all day. The second maid is happy she is staying quietly in the palace. At least they can monitor her. She has been watching Daphne and notices she cries all the time. Once, she even looked like she was about to jump off the terrace. The first maid warns her to be careful of what she says, but her friend is tired of keeping shut. She's very worried about Daphne. Every night, they tell Phoebus about Daphne's day, but her routine is always the same. She skips meals and cries herself to sleep. The maid is afraid Daphne might lose her smile forever. They can't understand Daphne's desire to leave. For them, this palace is a paradise. When they look up, they see Daphne. She no longer looks sad and is even dressed in her hunter's outfit. She is determined to go into the forest. Her maid, Arya, is afraid. Night is approaching, and Daphne is known to spend hours inside the forest. Arya is worried something dangerous might happen to her. She keeps trying to persuade her, but Daphne insists on going. She would rather face the dangerous forest than stay trapped in this horrible palace. Arya dislikes Daphne saying she is trapped. She reminds Daphne she can go anywhere she wants. Everything she desires, they can also provide for her. Daphne finds her funny. Arya promises to grant all her wishes, yet right now she is trying to stop her. Daphne reminds her of all the times she asked her to leave her alone, yet the girl insisted on watching her every day. She is merely Phoebus's eyes and ears, reporting everything Daphne does back to the god. To our female lead, this palace is her prison. She tells Arya she can follow her into the forest if she is so worried, but first she has to be able to keep up with her. Daphne is someone who served Artemis. If she wants to, the girl will never find her. After frightening Arya a little, she asks if Phoebus would punish her if she leaves. The maid says he won't. She is just afraid he would be too sad. To make him happy, she wants Daphne to stay here and accompany him forever. Daphne finds this funny. Arya wants to sacrifice her freedom just to make Phoebus happy. The maid is shocked to hear such harsh words, but Daphne feels no guilt. She tells Arya she has said even worse things to the god himself. Arya is shocked by how arrogant she is, even speaking badly about a god. She says Daphne can only do it because Phoebus favors her. Daphne doesn't mind. She already knows Phoebus's interest is temporary. Her life means nothing to the gods. The little maid dislikes Daphne for disrespecting their god. Daphne knows how much Phoebus is loved. Not only the nymphs in his palace, humans and even gods all fall under his beauty and worship him. He is known as the greatest god. She tells the maid she is just a plaything to their god, so she shouldn't worry for her. She doesn't want the maids to torment themselves trying to maintain Phoebus's happiness. Daphne knows they can't understand her because they all love Phoebus. Arya is confused, asking her why he doesn't love him. Our girl's answer is simple. She has forgotten everything, even the deep love she had for him. Back to the present, Phoebus can't believe what he is hearing. But even after the maids repeat it, the situation is still the same. Daphne went into the forest and hasn't returned. However, Phoebus isn't worried. He thinks she was just angry and went into the forest to calm down. He gave her the permission to go wherever she pleased as long as it is within his realm. When he notices how silent his maids are, he realizes she must have gone out of his territory. If she was still in his forest, his birds would have informed him. The maids finally confess. They disobeyed his order and followed her into the forest. According to the last servant who followed her, Daphne had managed to avoid Phoebus's ravens and even the servants. Right now, she is heading towards Lady Artemis's domain. A few hours earlier, Daphne goes for a ride in the forest. Just like she thought, the forest is very huge. The last time she came here, she only managed to find her way with Artemis's blessings. But now she has no one to help her. She will have to find her way back using her own strength. Not only that, she has to find a perfect escape route that Phoebus won't notice. She stops thinking and just enjoys the feeling of being back in the forest. It reminds her of those days spent hunting with her friends. Every night she dreams of those times, making her wonder if the gods are playing a cruel trick on her. She is beginning to detest them. She sees a river and stops to allow her horse rest. Finally alone, she can think about everything that has happened since she arrived here. She went from thinking it was all a dream to wanting to give up her life. Now that she is far away from that dreadful palace, she can finally think about her feelings for him. Phoebus seems to have changed overnight. He could never have enough of her, always doing it anytime and anywhere. She never stops him because she enjoys the pleasure he brings her. He would treat her gently. holding her as if afraid she would escape. His behavior almost makes her believe he loves her. But her feelings have also changed. All she feels for him now is anger and disgust that won't go away. Even when he treated her like a toy and played with her heart, she had never hated him this deeply. She just wants to understand why their feelings changed so much. Night has fallen, making the forest look dark and creepy. The sound of Phoebus's ravens makes it even worse. Daphne is aware of how much trouble she must have caused. It turns out she never planned to escape today. She pretended to head into Artemis territory, allowing the ravens and servants to chase her so she could use them as training. Everything is to make sure her escape will be perfect. She has already planned everything. Phoebus won't be around during the day. As the sun god, he can't abandon his duties. She will have enough time to escape before he returns at sunset. She will pretend to be obedient for some days, making the maids relax their watch. Now she returns back to Phoebus' palace. She doesn't want to, but it isn't time for her to escape yet. She can only encourage herself. After she arrives at the palace, she stays in the stable, afraid to head inside. She doesn't want to spend the night with Phoebus again. She decides to use conversation to distract. She doesn't need to go up because the god himself arrives. As soon as she sees him, she starts talking, trying to explain why she was so late. She gives him different excuses, blaming the poor horse and lying it was too tired. She reminds him he was the one who gave her permission to explore his realm anytime she likes. Phoebus says he did, except he already knows she sneaked out of his realm. Phoebus wants to know if she enjoyed her day outside his realm. His sister is still searching for Daphne, sending hunters into the forest every night and day. Phoebus knows she could have easily escaped. He had ordered his servants to let her roam the forest freely until she returned on her own. He didn't even allow his guards to watch her because she disliked it. She had promised to return no matter how many times she entered the forest. Because that was the first time she asked for his trust, he agreed and gave her freedom. Seeing her return, he is happy. He knows how much she loves roaming the forest. Since his land isn't big enough for her, he plans to marry her and make her a god. Then she can live for eternity. His confession makes Daphne furious. She regrets ever trying to have a conversation with him. He is still the same selfish god, only hearing what he wants and following his own feelings. He claims to understand her, but refuses to listen to everything she says since she came here. She told him about the disgust his touch brings to her, and the stifling anger she feels anytime she sees him. Yet every time he ignored her words, claiming it was just anger caused by her unrequited love. He always says her love will return. Just as he suddenly started treating her like a lover after ignoring her for many years, he will discard her after the wedding. So why should she love him again? She agrees to get married to him, but it will have to be in the goddess's realm. Before the wedding even begins, she will be killed by the goddess Arrow, and he will forget her quickly. Phoebus has always known her thoughts. He knows how much she wants to leave him, even choosing death just to escape him. Every day he worries, afraid he would finally lose her. He thought she would disappear today, but she came back. He makes a vow to her. As long as he remains the god of truth, he will forever love her and will never let her go. Right there, he starts to kiss her. She tries to resist, but he doesn't let go. He promises her he isn't like those other men she knew before. He will treat her well, but first he has to punish her. But Daphne isn't listening. The smell of the place disgusts her, and she can see the horses watching them. She can't believe he wants to sleep with her in such a place. Right now, she thinks she's no different from the beasts themselves. She finally understands how the dead Callisto felt. From the start, the girl must have chosen to become a bear. No human would be willing to understand the mind of beasts, only using them for their own needs. Just as humans wouldn't want to talk to a beast and understand them, it is the same for the gods. To them, humans are just like beasts in their eyes. They would take them whenever they feel like and discard them when bored. She thought she could rely on herself and defeat the gods, but only now does she understand how funny she must have looked to them. The god realizes something is wrong with his lover. Her body is cold. He is amused, thinking she was shocked by the thought of him sleeping with her right there. But when he sees the tears in her eyes, he realizes he must have gone too far. He starts begging her, trying to explain what he felt. The thought of her disappearing from his life made him lose his mind. But even still, he never planned to sleep with her there. He can't even bear to punish someone so fragile like her. He feels bad. He says he doesn't want to lose her, yet he has frightened her so badly. He keeps begging, but Daphne doesn't care. To her, nothing matters anymore. She tells him to do whatever he wants without considering her feelings. If he desires her, he should just take her anyhow he wants to. Just as he said, she is now his property for eternity, so he can claim her in any way he wants. Daphne finally knows how to hurt the god. She doesn't even need to use any strength. All she needs is her words, and so she tells him not to apologize to her. It doesn't matter how or where he touches her, every touch of his is just as disgusting. Those simple words are enough to break the god's heart. Phoebus is heartbroken. It was never his plan to hurt her. His emotions just went out of control when he returned, and the maids said she was missing. He wanted to respect her boundaries and not look for her, until they told him she was heading back to Artemis Palace. He kept worrying about her, terrified that something horrible might happen to her. It was his fear of losing her that made him so impatient. He wanted to get intimate, not knowing his actions would make a part of her disappear. Now he begs her, desperate to stop her tears. He admits his wrongs, but even that won't bring back the smile on her face. For the first time, the great Phoebus looks close to tears. He doesn't know what to do or if she is even listening to him. Even seeing him broken can't change Daphne's mind. His pain can't stir her emotions anymore. She repeats her statement. From now on, Phoebus doesn't need to care about her or her feelings. She is just a worthless being who doesn't need his apologies. All she wants is for him to continue toying with her. Whether she breaks or falls apart is none of the god's business. The sound of the rain feels like tears to Daphne. She finds her life very miserable. In this whole earth, there is no one who would shed tears for her. She is just a pitiful nymph who has been trapped by a great god. It feels like rain is mourning her death. Phoebus is about to cry. He is terrified of this change as hugs her, trembling. He keeps begging for her forgiveness, but Daphne doesn't feel anything. She feels nothing for this man who destroyed her body and heart. Even his love and beauty can't move her heart anymore. There is no anger towards him either. All she feels is emptiness. She is tired of loving and hating him. Now, she has no feelings for him any longer. Not even anger or pity. He has finally killed her heart. She remembers her past. She was born to a river god. Her life was supposed to flow smoothly and freely without any hatred. But Phoebus destroyed everything. Now even her memories of her life before him can't bring her any joy. Daphne is trapped in another dream. This time, she returns to her father's river watching the younger version of herself. She was born as the daughter of the river god with a life that was supposed to flow like water, smooth and free. She had no need for men, love, or feelings. Her life back then was dazzling and full of life, until it was all ruined. Daphne finally realizes what she has lost. She has lost herself. Even if she goes back to the past, her life will never be the same. She will never be happy because her soul is already broken. She regrets ever loving Phoebus. She regrets ever leaving her father's homeland and meeting Lady Artemis. If she had never even been born, she would not have known such pain. In the dream, she hears a voice. The voice expresses pity for her. This wretched soul who has been wounded so many times, it begins to blame itself. Daphne is surprised because she knows this voice. It is Callisto. The dead girl asks if she wants to escape from Phoebus. She knows Daphne wants to return home, but her father can only hide her for a short while. The only place Phoebus can never reach is the underworld. But Phoebus will never allow her die. From the beginning of it all, Daphne was never given a choice. Daphne asks for advice, but the only one Callisto can tell her is to return to Lady Artemis's forest and die miserably. She only has two options now: remain with Phoebus or return to Lady Artemis. Daphne wakes up to find Phoebus personally washing her. He has been watching her while she slept, and now wants to know what she dreamt of. She refuses to speak, instead chasing him away. He doesn't argue and agrees to leave so she can rest. Still, he doesn't want her to be alone and offers to send a maid to accompany her. But once he is alone, the god shows his pain. The new Daphne makes him panic. He prefers the angry woman who hated him. At least then, she still felt something for him. Now, she treats him like a stranger who means nothing to her, making him feel empty. For the first time, the great god actually sheds tears. No revenge could be crueler than this. It is days after that event. Ever since that day, Daphne has refused to step out of her room. Even the anger and resentment she used to show him is all gone. This should have made him happy, but it just makes Phoebus panic. Right now, he is even afraid to enter her room. He wants to know everything about her, speak to her, but no matter what stories he tells, she never listens. When he finally enters the room, he sees her looking like she might disappear at any time. It makes him afraid, feeling like he can never hold on to her. The great god Phoebus is like a servant now, patiently cleaning her feet. He is worried about her because the maids say all she does is sleep when he isn't around. He is afraid he has been too rough during their intimate moments. Daphne, however, isn't worried about that, even revealing she is the one who asked him to be that way. She always says she doesn't feel pain, but Phoebus doesn't believe her. He thinks she is lying out of concern for him, afraid he wouldn't fill his desire. Daphne reminds him he is the god of truth, so she can't lie in front of him. She is afraid she would be punished just like that day. The mention of that incident brings back Phoebus's guilt. He tells her he never planned to punish her. She is too delicate to be punished. He tries to apologize again, but she stops him. She doesn't want his apology, she just wants to assure him she knows her place. She holds his face, telling him he takes good care of her, which is why she looks satisfied. He doesn't believe her and insists on checking her. He notices her privates are injured and refuses to believe her word from now on. Now he regrets ever sleeping with her. He wants to leave so she can rest, but she refuses. She wasn't lying when she said she was fine, because she truly can't feel pain anymore. She has lost all her emotions and forgotten every incident. The only thing she needs from him now is his touch. She craves him because the only thing that can make her feel alive again is his touch. She doesn't want a great god like him to keep worrying about someone as unimportant as her. Now the roles are reserved. Phoebus is now the one who blushes just from her single touch. Ever since that day, she has approached him first. She is the one always desiring him, eager to feel his touch. And yet, there is no love or affection in her eyes. He is the one whose heart trembles just by looking at her. His love for her keeps growing. He is desperate to know if she truly feels nothing for him. All he wants is to search deeper and find just a little bit of that deep love she once had for him. He wants to break her walls, eager to find the girl that once loved him. But he knows it is impossible. She has truly lost herself, and now he can never find that part of her again. Daphne wakes up to see Phoebus watching her sleep. The god has become so obsessed, he is even jealous of her dreams. All he seems to do is worry about her nowadays. She refuses to eat, and all she does these days is sleep. She is getting so thin, he is beginning to be afraid. He keeps preparing gifts to cheer her up, but nothing seems to make her happy. Not even the precious gifts from the other gods can move her heart or make her smile. She refuses even to speak, remaining silent most times. He is desperate to hear her voice and asks her to tell him about her dream. He wants to know everything she's thinking about. She finally speaks. She keeps having the same dream where she returns to her father's land. She spends the day picking flowers and looking over her father's realm. She knows it might not mean much to Phoebus, but those days were incredibly beautiful to her. Phoebus is happy and tells her everything must be as beautiful as she is. He wants her to continue the story, but is disappointed when she never mentions meeting her father. She tells him what her mother once said, that the time waiting to see someone is more exciting than meeting the person themselves. Her mother spent all her life waiting for her father. She could never understand why her mother would be willing to waste her years. But when she saw Phoebus, she finally understood. Phoebus is heartbroken. She tells him her deepest desires. She wants to see her father one last time before Lady Artemis finds and kills her. But Phoebus can't accept that. He would never let her die. All he needs to do is marry her, turning her to a god. His sister wouldn't be able to harm her then, and she could freely visit her father. He begs her to marry him, but she breaks his heart when she tells him she would rather die. She prefers death over the idea of spending eternity as his wife. She can tell something is wrong. Ever since she arrived in his forest, her life has been filled with strange things. It all seems like a dream, like she has been trapped in some unknown world. She can't even understand herself. As she wishes for is to make her dreams real. She doesn't want to face this reality any longer. She can't understand why Phoebus still insists on being with her. She cries as she begs him to grow tired of her. If he gets tired of her, she can finally leave this nightmare. Phoebus doesn't agree, vowing never to leave her. She doesn't believe him because he is known to get tired of women quickly. Phoebus tells her he can't let go of her. She is his joy and sorrow, his greatest misfortune. Still, she doesn't believe, thinking he is just mocking her. She begs him to free her from this nightmare. Phoebus is in pain, but he can't let go of her. She has a dream he never wants to wake up from. Phoebus tells her he will never grow tired of her or abandon her. He has planned their future. After their marriage, she will have a child. They will be a family of 3 and rule over his land together. This is their fate, and they can never change it. His promise means nothing to Daphne. She knows what the gods are like. Soon, this fake love of his would fade one day. Phoebus doesn't believe it will. Even if it does, it won't happen immediately. Those things she keeps worrying about are not going to happen suddenly. He swears an oath and promises to love her forever. She, however, thinks his promise is a joke. The gods are known to be cruel. Just like he suddenly started loving her, he will throw her aside one day. She reminds him of what he did to the Queen of Thebes. It is an old story between the goddess Leto and Niobe, the Queen of Thebes. Leto, the wife of Zeus, was cursed by Hera to wander the earth in pain while pregnant. She was forced to give birth to her children in hiding. Yet when they were born, the twins shone with a dazzling light as if blessed by the world itself. Those children were actually Artemis and Phoebus. They became gods loved and worshipped by many. But the real tragedy began with Niobe, a human woman who became prideful because of her 7 sons and 7 daughters. She looked down on the so-called goddess of motherhood who only had 2 children. Because she wanted the people of Thebes to only worship her, she stopped the goddess's festival for a day. Daphne feels pity for the ignorant Niobe. If only she knew how insulting her pride was to the goddess whose only value was her 2 children. If she had known, such a tragedy would never have happened. Daphne reminds Phoebus of what he did to Niobe. He might have forgotten about such an insignificant human, but she still remembers. When his mother came to beg for his help, he personally killed all of Niobe's sons in one night. Her husband, the king, couldn't bear the loss and took his own life. When Niobe still refused to repent, Artemis shot 6 of the humans' daughters, leaving her with only the youngest. Only then did Niobe finally beg, asking for this single child to be spared. But the gods never listened and took that child's life. The arrogant Niobe was surrounded by her family's corpses and in the end was turned to stone. Nebo had to pay a painful price for her pride, watching all her loved ones die before her own eyes. She was so full of despair, she turned into stone. Daphne reminds Phoebus of his cruelty, but the god feels no guilt. He doesn't care about the human he tortured and the tragedy he caused. He warns her not to compare herself with an insignificant human. She is his partner for life and his queen who will rule over his land. He doesn't know what to do anymore. No matter what he says, she never seems to believe his love. Even all his wisdom can't help him. He begs her, asking how he can make her trust him. She tells him she can never trust him. Nothing can ever change the hatred she feels for him. She cries as he tells him she hates herself even more for loving him. Phoebus has finally been defeated. He stops touching her, broken by those words. The great god bows his head towards a mortal, helpless for the first time. Ever since that day, he stopped visiting her. Months passed, and yet he never stepped into her room. Rumors flew around the palace, some saying he had finally gotten tired of her behavior. Others thought he had abandoned her. In the end, she was just like the other women. Daphne couldn't care less about those rumors. She is more worried about this dream she keeps having. She wants to forget it all. Those horrible dreams in Artemis's forest. She wants to forget everything she ever loved, and even more, she wants to forget herself. She knows about the rumors the maids have been spreading. She isn't surprised, as she always believed Phoebus's love was fake. She is tired of living like a trapped animal. Today, she will finally make her escape. She plans to return to her father's hometown to hide. After that, she will find another place to live. This is her chance. But when night reaches, Daphne returns to the palace. She doesn't know why she came back. She fought so hard to leave, yet when she finally got the chance, she still returned to this palace. To this prison where she can never get rid of Phoebus. She doesn't understand why she came back. She thinks it is because of those dreams she kept having for months after he left. Every time, she sees Artemis's palace. She is always walking, searching for something, yet she never finds it. It is only at the end of the dream she sees it. A memory of her love for Phoebus. She thought she had forgotten everything, but a part of that twisted love remains. Now she drops to her knees and cries. She didn't leave because even in her dreams, she can't forget him. And yet she still hates him. She can't understand how such a deep love turned into such terrible resentment. She remembers his gentle love and cries even harder. She is in deep despair. Poor Daphne. Daphne is curled up on the floor, trying to hold herself together. Calm down. That's the only thing running through her mind right now. She can't keep wasting time like this. It's been over a month since she got locked in this pitch-black room. Not even a sliver of moonlight gets in. Honestly, anyone would have broken by now. She's only human after all, and that thought alone is enough to make loneliness creep in and settle deep. This heavy, indulgent feeling just won't let go of her. But she catches herself. That has to be it. She's sure of it. Because if it's not loneliness eating at her, then it means she's actually gone mad in here. Soon it'll be night again. Our girl finally pushes herself up and walks through the door. And here's the thing that really breaks her. No matter what time it is, no matter where she goes, he's just not coming anymore. Standing in that hallway, she admits it out loud. She's the only one still hesitating, still wavering. Looking down that empty corridor, her mind drifts somewhere darker. Maybe this whole nightmare is his curse on her. Punishment for being arrogant and ungrateful towards someone who gave her far more than a mere plaything deserved. And what a curse it is. She's shown a past where she loved him in her dreams, only to wake into a reality where his are the only eyes that ever meet hers, the only voice that ever calls her name. A curse designed to kill her slowly, suffocating her with solitude. Honestly, that's brutal. The nymphs were right about her before she collapsed. She realizes, even if she once meant something to him, she's no different from any other woman now. And the nymphs will never understand her hatred, because they're the type who can't function without worshipping Phoebus. One of them actually confronted her once, asking why she's so arrogant when no woman has ever truly mattered to him. Pointing out that she herself once loved him, once despaired over meaning nothing to him, once felt pure ecstasy just from a passing glance. So why, the nymph demanded, does she refuse to understand Phoebus Apollo? The nymph's words keep replaying in Daphne's head, special to him, to an incomprehensible degree. How dare she oppose the sun himself? Why must he suffer from love that isn't returned? And all Daphne can think is, love? For her? She clenches her fist so tight it shakes. That's a lie. Has to be. She takes off running down the stairs, anger fueling every step. Something like that simply cannot exist. No more wavering, she tells herself. The god of reason, in love with someone like her? Then she just stops, freezes completely. Because what is she really, if not just a passing curiosity to him, a plaything he got bored watching squirm? The only truth here is the hatred burning inside her. Everything else is a lie she refuses to fall for again. That's when she feels it. Phoebus's presence wraps around her, his voice cutting through everything. You are my joy. And just like that, he's gone again. The tears come instantly. Daphne grips the edge of her gown like it's the only thing keeping her upright and admits, through the sobs, that this is exactly what she wanted so badly. Just like every nymph before her who came and eventually left, she's been abandoned too. Tears are just pouring now. She pictures his face in her mind, and honestly, the bitterness hits hard. Didn't he act exactly like a boy who found someone's weak spot, mocking her one-sided feelings for sport? If he's never going to love her back, then there's no way she could ever be his joy. She sinks to her knees, head hung low, insisting to herself that she can't possibly still love someone who dug into her deepest wounds just to laugh at her. But why does it still hurt this much? Just when she looks up, there he is, Phoebus, standing right in front of her, that unbearably bright face of his filling her vision. Oh dear, he says, reaching a hand toward her. He tells her he left her alone for just a moment, and here she is crying again. Gently, he tilts her chin up and asks what nightmare she had this time. Then, softly, he asks if she'll tell him. Phoebus can't take it anymore, seeing Daphne crying again. Her expression is just so dark, and he's sure she's had another terrible nightmare. He gently touches her cheek. He tells her she doesn't have to worry, that he'll take that nightmare away from her himself. But that only makes the tears come faster, and Daphne turns her face away. This honestly guts him. He clenches his fists and admits it. He always ends up being the reason she cries. He knows she probably won't believe a word out of his mouth right now, but the fact that she hasn't eaten anything in 5 days has him completely unable to focus on anything else. He gets it, though. She must resent him. She probably doesn't want to see his face, hear his voice, or deal with a single gesture from him anymore, but he begs her to listen anyway. There's nothing on this earth he can't get his hands on. So please, just eat something once they get back. Meanwhile, Daphne isn't having any of it. She cuts him off cold, asking why he's showing mercy to a woman who hates the gods. Calling it what it really is, a final pity or maybe a curse dressed up as mercy. Such an absurd notion, Phoebus fires back, clearly offended by the accusation, but she's already wiping her eyes and standing up, cutting him off again. She says that since her lord has returned to his rightful place, she'll disappear somewhere else for the sin of daring to sit in his seat, somewhere his shadow can't even reach. Phoebus isn't letting that slide, though. He stands up immediately and tells her, no, she's always been the master of this place. He'll only set foot in it when she allows him to. Taking her hand, he calls her his verdant one, and he confesses that every single sunrise, all he's thought about is her. He kisses her hand right after saying it. Daphne just turns away at all of this. Her mind screams that this is the same man who abandoned her so blatantly. He only shows up now, shameless, the moment death came knocking at her door. And as she walks off, she can't help wondering if he's only guilt-tripping because his precious little pet is about to die. Daphne keeps walking, but Phoebus spins around and calls her name twice, practically begging her to wait. She doesn't stop, though. She tells him she can walk alone and to just leave her be. Of course he doesn't listen. He points out how could he possibly walk away when she can barely take a step without stumbling. Since she's this weak, won't she just eat something? He can get her literally anything on this earth, but Daphne refuses flat out. She doesn't want to put anything in her mouth. Phoebus pushes back, reminding her it's already the 5th day. And if this keeps up, she's going to collapse again. He insists this is all for her sake. That phrase stops her cold. For her sake. She turns around, and this time there's real anger in her voice. For her own good, is that really what he just said? She starts listing everything she's actually asked for. Dismiss the handmaidens. Leave her alone. Send her to be punished by Artemis or by her father. Has he granted a single one of those requests? Not one. Even now, everything is unfolding exactly the way Lord Phoebus wants it to. She knows he missed her, knows he worried, but she also recognizes affection dressed up as something it isn't. All he actually missed was sharing a bed with her. That was the entire extent of her usefulness to him, wasn't it? Then, out of nowhere, she kisses him. His eyes go wide. As the kiss deepens, Daphne's mind is somewhere else entirely. Even a god, she realizes, is just a man underneath it all. One who dresses up desire and calls it love. The men who tormented her before with hollow courtships and proposals said the same things. That it was all for her. That she was their joy. She needs him to prove he's different. She needs it, because her hatred has to be justified. So whatever feelings are still lingering inside her can finally die for good. So she keeps kissing him. silently daring him to prove she's nothing but a possession he can use and toss aside whenever he feels like it. What follows is inevitable. The two of them come together. With Daphne now the one on top, she looks down at him and delivers the line that says it all. Lord Phoebus, if your vow is truly pure, prove it to me. Daphne doesn't let up. She asks him straight out if he found some new woman to keep him satisfied while he was gone. All Phoebus can manage is her name, quiet and pained. She keeps going anyway, saying she trusts her replacements gave him plenty of fulfillment. That's enough, he tells her, but she's not finished. While he was away, she admits, she actually started thinking her usefulness to him had finally run out. Turns out that wasn't quite the case. Why won't he just be honest for once? She pushes, pointing out that he simply enjoys the act itself, no matter who it's with. Phoebus immediately shuts that down, insisting it isn't true. He thought he'd already made it painfully clear what she means to him, but clearly he was wrong. Dawn is coming and time is short, yet he swears he'll say it as many times as it takes. No woman, mortal or goddess, could ever replace her. Right now, his only concern is her health. He'll tend to her wound while she sleeps, but she needs to eat, or she won't recover. He begs her, please, just eat something for him. He promises he'll wait until she's truly healed and truly wants it before he touches her again. And with that, he actually pulls back, refuses to go any further with her. Daphne wipes her lips clean and lets out something close to a laugh, apologizing sarcastically for not being able to hold it in. Truly want it, she repeats back to him, practically mocking the phrase. She'll never want that. Not until the day she dies, she tells him flat out, calling him a god who can only speak the truth, twice. Like the irony of it physically hurts. Because here's the thing, he's never once bothered hiding his desire for her, even on the days she made it painfully clear she didn't want it. Phoebus grabs her hand, then her arm, telling her to stop. Just stop. But our girl isn't stopping. Not now. Not after everything he's just admitted without even realizing it. Daphne refuses to make this easy for Phoebus. Instead, she slowly closes the distance and keeps teasing him. She runs her hand across his body while asking when he'll come looking for her again. Tomorrow? Maybe the next full moon? Every word pushes him closer to his breaking point. He keeps telling her to wait and to stop, but she's clearly determined to test every ounce of his self-control. Then she casually talks about crossing Hades' river as if she's already prepared to leave forever. That single thought completely shakes him. He immediately blurts out that she isn't going anywhere because he won't let her. And honestly, that's the first time he stops sounding calm and starts sounding desperate. She gently brushes his lips before challenging him to prove he means what he just said. Without waiting for an answer, she kisses him. The tension between these two has been building for way too long for it to end any other way. Even as she begins taking things further, Phoebus keeps pleading with her to stop because she's pushing herself too hard. He isn't just resisting temptation anymore. He's genuinely worried about her. But our girl completely ignores every warning. She even jokes about how sweet it is that he keeps calling for his mother instead of giving in to her. Rather than backing down, Daphne doubles down. She asks when he'll finally accept her. Will it be at dawn or when tomorrow's sun finally rises? She promises she'll do anything he wants as his little toy. But she reminds him that the god of shoots still has to answer for all the lies that were told. Phoebus desperately tries to explain himself, insisting she listen because he had planned to give her what she wanted after the punishment was over. Unfortunately for him, she barely lets him finish a sentence. She cuts him off, wondering if he's even listening anymore. Then she teases that he seems to be enjoying this punishment far more than he should. He keeps begging her to stop, but every plea only encourages her to press the issue even harder. She smirks and points out that if this is supposed to be punishment, it certainly doesn't feel like one anymore. At this point, I don't even blame him for completely losing his composure. The emotional tug-of-war between them has reached a point where neither of them can pretend these feelings aren't real anymore. Phoebus looks wrecked with guilt. He tells Daphne to hate him for giving in to such pathetic desires, but in the same breath, he's begging her to eat something. She's so light now, he says. It's like she's barely even there. He genuinely doesn't know what else to do for her. Meanwhile, over in Hephaestus' workshop, our weapon maker is hammering away at his latest creation when he notices Eros lingering nearby. Hephaestus asks if something happened with his mother, since Eros has been showing up a lot lately. But Eros, facing the other way and clearly avoiding eye contact, says that's not it. Yesterday, he saw a nymph wandering the forest in tears before she vanished back into the castle. He wants to know, if a mistake can't be undone, what's someone supposed to do about it? Hephaestus admits he doesn't know the full story but tells him to get it off his chest anyway. Apparently, this is the hour when every sinner in the world confesses. Then we shift over to Artemis's forest, where Hermes is creeping through the trees with a bow in hand. He's checking that no one's around, wondering if she really pulled back all her hunting hounds as she claimed. Phoebus is being ruthless, honestly, sending him into land that's completely forbidden to men. But since he's already hauled this bow all the way from Hephaestus, there's no backing out now. Something spooks him, and he takes off running. He reminds himself this is still technically the forest edge, still Artemis's domain. He drops the bow, figuring her people will deal with it. He shouts an apology to the goddess as he bolts, desperate not to offend her. Turns out the thing that startled him was just a squirrel. He lets out a breath, scoops it up, and starts talking to it, wondering if it's the same one from before. Then he tells himself no, that can't be it. That's when he clocks someone standing in the shadows nearby. Still distracted by the squirrel wriggling in his hands, he barely gets a warning before an arrow comes flying out of the darkness. He dodges just in time. A voice comments on the rat-like stench she'd been picking up on. When he spins around, it's Artemis. She tells him the forest had gone quiet, so she'd called her hound back. A two-legged beast crawls in, and Hermes, sprawled on the floor, calls out her name. Artemis. She doesn't waste time asking what brings him here. Honestly, her tone makes it clear she's already suspicious, wondering if he's back as Zeus's messenger again. Hermes waves that off fast, forcing an awkward laugh. He insists this time he's here for Phoebus. That gets her attention. She goes quiet for a moment, studying him. He holds out the bow, calling it a gift crafted by Hephaestus. He explains that since she loves bows so much, Phoebus wanted her to have it, hoping it might please her given their bond. Before Hermes can even finish that thought, Artemis cuts him off, saying she sees exactly what Phoebus is trying to do here. And this is where Hermes makes his mistake. Reading her softened voice as a sign her anger's actually cooling off. Just as Phoebus predicted, he figures if he plays this right, maybe he can actually help patch things up. So he pushes his luck, says it's not his place to interfere, but cautiously points out that they weren't the two of them once, the closest bond in Olympus. Sure, the sun and moon can't rise together. That's just how it works. But did they really have to turn their backs on each other forever? Maybe the whole rift between them is even why Olympus doesn't feel right anymore. Phoebus just wants to fix things with his sister before the damage gets any worse. And if the two of them could just reconcile. That's as far as he gets. Arrows come flying before he can finish the sentence, and Hermes hits the ground hard. Artemis is furious, practically spitting the word reconciliation back at him. She asks how Phoebus even dares bring that up to her. She reminds Hermes whose land he's standing on, pointing out that two men have trespassed here within mere days now, and she is not stupid. She could have turned him into a stag for this. Hanging his head at the forest entrance would have been the merciful option. One more step, she warns, and she won't spare a god's life either. She'll keep the bow, only out of respect for her brother's effort. But Hermes needs to leave it and go, and she has a message for arrogant Phoebus. If he genuinely wants their old bond back, he needs to bring that child before her. Then the scene shifts to Phoebus standing outside. An unexpected guest arrives at the mountain's entrance. Even a great god apparently can't outrun the laws of nature. And we're all about to watch something pretty entertaining unfold. The sun god himself dims his own brilliance just to wear a human's face. What truth has brought him all the way out here? Phoebus's mind drifts to his mother, Leto, as he tells himself that until he reaches the future goddess's dwelling, all gods are no different from humans. So he does something huge. He actually strips away his own divine authority to climb this mountain like a mere mortal, silently asking for her blessing to fall on him. Now that's a big move for a sun god. As he climbs, part of the mountain crumbles under him and his leg slips. But he catches himself just in time. Wiping the sweat off, he admits it genuinely feels like he's just some human facing a trial. And here's the thought that hits him hard. Maybe the idea that all gods are equal on this mountain isn't entirely wrong. Whether it's because he's nearing the summit or because he shed his divinity to climb like a human, the fog in his mind finally starts clearing. He's convinced there's a truth buried here that even his reason and prophetic powers can't touch. Because how else could Daphne's wavering heart have lasted this long? The sorrowful eyes that used to follow him everywhere vanished overnight. Instead of clinging to him desperately, now it's her hands pushing him away and a voice denying him completely. He refuses to believe that's really her true heart. He finally reaches the top and steps inside, greeting the space by calling out to the daughter of the greatest mother, saying it's been a long time. The doors swing open for him. Walking in, he notes she looks worn by time since his last memory of her. He admits this place looks like ruins compared to the palace she used to enjoy. She agrees, but still calls it beautiful. Phoebus points out that even with the sacred fire faded and pillars crumbled, her glory hasn't dimmed one bit. This eases her disciples' worries. That's when Lady Themis steps out to greet him warmly, calling him my Pythran. Phoebus raises an eyebrow at that, guessing it's some new title humans recently gave him. He jokes that she clearly hasn't fully turned her gaze from the mortal world. Themis just laughs it off, saying news of him slaying the great serpent of Mount Parnassus was loud enough to reach even the valley where an old woman like her hides away. Hard not to know something that big. Phoebus teases that her spirits must be pretty talkative. Themis fires back that the oracle's authority and glory he's using were originally hers anyway. The two share a warm hug, and Themis tells him her disciples' minds are as clear to her as the palm of her own hand. Phoebus admits her bad habit of peering into other people's minds hasn't changed a bit. Themis just tosses that right back at him, wondering if maybe he's the one who's just bad at hiding his heart these days. She points out he's always stood completely bare in front of her. And honestly, look at him now. Showing up here looking like a total mess, like a child desperate for someone to see what's actually going on inside him. She brushes his hair back gently as she says it. Phoebus asks if she can really see everything. When she asks what exactly he means, he admits it himself. How foolish he's being right now, and what exactly is blinding him. Themis finds this whole thing pretty amusing, honestly, reminding him there was a time he used to boast about knowing everything in the world thanks to her teachings. Phoebus doesn't argue. He's ashamed of his current state too, but he can't even pinpoint the root of why he's become this foolish. So he's here, begging for her counsel. He addresses her formally as Zeus's sole advisor, guardian of divine command, the goddess who governs law and punishes lies. Themis smiles through all of it, still playing with his hair the whole time. Only coming to me after everything's already ruined, she says, pointing out that, in this, he's really no different from his father. Right now, his heart is consumed by a blind emotion she's genuinely never seen in him before. And it doesn't suit his usually dull nature at all. Phoebus pushes back, insisting his heart has nothing to do with his true nature. That if there's any flaw here, it's simply that he loves too much. Nothing more, hand pressed to his chest as he says it. Themis isn't buying the innocence of that, though. She asks if he even knows where that excessive affection is actually coming from. She tells him to remember everything he's chosen to ignore. Reason. Love being the greatest providence. Love standing equal to time itself. She reminds him that a god's power is literally what they govern. Humans call that authority and worship it even. Time, ruled by her subordinate, binds even the gods of Olympus. But love, the thing his mother represents. Her reason, she insists, will always stand above it. Others have spoken like him before, she says. He'll come to understand eventually, too. He's fallen sick from some boy god's prank, and since he already knows the cause, curing it should be simpler than pulling weeds off the roadside. With that, she removes the blindfold covering her eyes, revealing striking blue eyes locked right on him. Then she tells him to reclaim his dignity as her true disciple. Phoebus lets out a small laugh at that, realizing what's been gnawing at him was simply that. Themis tells him he can call it a childish trick if he wants, but love has always been something fairly trivial in the grand scheme of things. She stretches her hand out, and a bird lands right on her finger as she makes her point. What he dismissed that day wasn't the child itself. It was love, and now it's got him by the throat. No need to take it so seriously, though, she adds, pointing out that the old him, the one with all his radiant wisdom, would have laughed off the idea of collapsing over something as small as an insect bite. Phoebus just bows his head at that, mentioning the hour of Eros is approaching. He thanks her for her wisdom and says that'll be all for today. But Themis isn't done with him yet. She tells him he can actually be healed, that she knows exactly how long this love has been tormenting him. Eros's arrow works just like any wound, and since it pierced his heart, it's still buried deep inside. She touches his chest and reminds him there's no doctor a god can turn to for something like this. He was literally born with the authority of medicine. He's the only one who can cure himself, the only one capable of restoring reason and love back into balance. And if he refuses, no one else in the entire world can do it for him. Must it truly be cured, though? Phoebus asks, and honestly, this hits different. He admits that if what she's saying is true, then yes, he's fallen ill. But he has zero desire to cure it. There's a question that's been sitting with him for a while now, he says. Because even understanding the full logic behind everything, he still couldn't look away. He still couldn't stop being curious about it all. And that's when his mind drifts back to an earlier memory. The moment he first arrived at Artemis's palace, where the nymphs all bowed to him, greeting their lord. That's the exact moment he first noticed Daphne, bowing along with the rest of them. Phoebus's mind keeps circling back to that scent. Grass leaves? Is that really coming from her? He figures she must just be one of the many wandering his sister's forest, helping Artemis out, even though he's never actually seen her before. Right then, Artemis calls out to him and he brushes it off internally, assuming his sisters just picked up another possession. The woman, meanwhile, is all politeness. She asks when he plans to visit Lady Artemis, offering to draw fresh spring water for his arrival. She says she'll prepare anything special he might want in advance. But Phoebus is still stuck on that scent. Not grass leaves, after all, he decides. It's something he's genuinely never encountered before, like river water warmed under his own sunlight, or maybe a freshly sprouted bud. Just a little more thought and he feels like he could actually define it. His memory jumps to another moment from the past. Daphne, bow in hand, muttering to herself about someone named Euclea, who's nowhere close to beating her in hunting, yet somehow keeps proposing the same wager anyway. Daphne's already predicting Euclea's going to end up on mule duty again. That's when Phoebus shows up, practically glowing, and Daphne's whole demeanor flips instantly. Her eyes go wide. Her cheeks flush as she calls out his name. He steps closer and she quickly bows, apologizing for looking so shabby since she just got back from a hunt. Phoebus waves it off completely, telling her it doesn't matter, that she's actually rather amusing to look at even in this state. She questions the word amusing. That's when he reaches out, gently pulling a leaf from her hair, mentioning there's been something he's been curious about for a while now. Maybe this is it. Holding the leaf, he leans in closer to her face and her heart absolutely skips a beat. Phoebus is just about to finish his thought on that scent when a group of nymphs comes chattering in from behind, one of them groaning about being stuck with dinner duty again. Then someone spots him. That is Lord Phoebus, and suddenly they're all bowing, asking if he's looking for Lady Artemis. One quickly waves it off, saying, no need. Artemis will show up on her own eventually. Phoebus just turns and walks off, leaf still in hand, while the nymphs behind him immediately start whispering among themselves. Eros, curious, asks Daphne what she and Phoebus were even talking about, and she brushes it off fast, insisting it was nothing. Meanwhile, Phoebus walks away completely thrown, wondering internally if time had actually stopped for a second there. Impossible, he tells himself. Just a trivial misunderstanding. Just the scent of ordinary grass. Just ordinary black hair. Nothing more than that. That's what it should have been. His memory drifts further back, to a moment sitting with his sister Artemis on a rock. She's calling out Daphne's name, and Phoebus, still deep in recollection, can't help wondering why he'd reacted back then like he'd been caught doing something. In the memory, he asks Artemis what she's talking about. She fires back, asking who brought that girl in, gesturing to the dog sitting beside her. Artemis explains Daphne hasn't been around long, but she's skilled enough that losing her would genuinely sting. Apparently, there was another gift too. Something Artemis says she cherishes quite a bit. Phoebus asks what it was this time, and Artemis answers plainly, a deer. Or maybe it was one of Father Zeus's children. She wonders aloud if she's even supposed to feel sympathy before deciding firmly that there's no mercy for anyone who breaks their vow. Phoebus, still deep in memory, recalls Artemis casually mentioning she's tired of beers, and next time a deer would do nicely. Then his mind slips into that recurring dream. A quiet wind blowing, and somehow Daphne's love blowing right along with it. In the dream, they're close, leaning into each other's scent. Smiling with eyes that had genuinely never met before that moment. Holding something light and fragile in his arms. There's nothing he can do but let it all go. Just a dream. Then he jolts awake. A dream not even Morpheus could explain. One he couldn't cure, returning to him night after night. Seasons broke and bloomed again more times than he could count. So much time passed that he lost track of the years, yet that same nightmare kept gnawing at him relentlessly. At first, he assumed it was punishment, tied to Niobe, the queen he'd shot an arrow at to humble her arrogance, thinking it had somehow circled back on him. But before he could even sit with that suffering, before he could get a grip on himself, he found himself pulled towards something else entirely, growing more and more curious about one particular girl, Daphne. Her eyes, he realizes, hold the entire color of lush greenery, and suddenly that nightmare that tormented him all night feels like nothing but fiction, the warmth reaching his fingertips, the trembling in her palms, the scent of grass drifting between them, all of it whispering that this, right here, is what's actually real. He wants to ask her everything. Does she like flowers? Is she curious about the edge of the world? Would she want to learn music? So many questions crowd his mind at once. Then Artemis's words creep back in. Tired of beers. Next time a deer would do nicely. Phoebus's fist clenches tight at the memory. Because even that one fleeting moment he looked away, that was reality too. The distance he was ever allowed with Daphne was only ever this much, because she remained unchanged, forever belonging to Artemis. Back when Phoebus was still climbing, at Hephaestus's forge, Hephaestus stands there, hand resting thoughtfully on his mouth, telling Eros that undoing a mistake usually isn't hard. His mother could probably fix most things, but the fact that he's come all the way here instead tells Hephaestus everything. This must be something Eros can't even bring himself to say to her. Eros, head down against his knees, finally opens up. It started as a punishment for arrogance that mocked love. Just 2 arrows shot as a simple prank, something he does all the time, except somehow those arrows twisted into thorns, choking the life out of a nymph. At first, he didn't care about her suffering at all, but as the days dragged on, hearing her sobbing and her desperate prayers, he finally realized the whole prank had been wrong from the start. Now that endless hatred is eating away at her life, and the guilt crushes his chest every night. That's why he's here, desperate to know how to undo it. Except he has no idea where to even start. Hephaestus doesn't sugarcoat it. Undo it, he repeats, reminding Eros that not even a god can defy time itself. Spilled water doesn't just gather back up. But, he adds, still hammering away at the weapon in his hands, there are plenty of ways to resolve the actual problem. First step, if Eros genuinely wants to fix this, he has to face it head-on. Only Eros can escape this guilt and find peace again, and only he can save that nymph's fading life. With that, Eros takes off flying. Elsewhere, Daphne stands alone on a balcony, her thoughts heavy, forgetting the one she once loved, trapped in the grip of someone who's become terrifying, unable to escape a fate of being consumed by endless hatred. That's not destiny, that's just cruelty wearing its name. Destiny was never supposed to look like this, she tells herself. Staring out from the balcony, she wonders if crossing this mountain will finally end it all. She's exhausted, tired of slowly killing herself with this hatred day after day, tired of playing him like he's some toy in the palm of her hand. Daphne climbs up onto the balustrade, the railing lining the balcony, her mind fixed on one thing. Her father, somewhere beyond that mountain, surely waiting to welcome her with open arms. If she can just make it over, freedom is finally hers again. Just as she's about to go through with it, a voice cuts through the air, screaming no, telling her this cannot be her final choice. It's Eros, sprinting toward her, begging her to let him explain everything first, just to come back this way. Daphne turns, completely stunned. Realizing it's actually him, she mutters that this can't be a dream. No dream could ever hold this much radiance. She asks why he's even here, and Eros notes she's gotten thinner since he last saw her. Before? She echoes, immediately assuming he was sent by Phoebus to keep watch over her. Eros quickly clarifies he wasn't watching her, just checking in out of genuine concern. Daphne finds that strange, though, pointing out she isn't exactly someone a god would take interest in unless there's some special reason behind it. And that's when Eros admits it. There is a reason. He knows his interest probably isn't welcome, but to him, She matters. Poor daughter of Peneus that she is. This should have been something that brought him joy, he confesses. But every single time he watches her, that joy just turns to ash instead. He's been watching her for a long time now. Long enough to understand the pain and hatred she carries inside. Daphne, confused, says she doesn't understand what he's getting at. But Eros isn't finished. He's not here seeking her forgiveness. He makes that clear, admitting he doesn't even have the right to ask for it. Not after being the one who caused her this much suffering. Daphne's shock deepens, barely getting out a confused, "What on earth are you?" before Eros cuts her off completely. He reaches out, cupping her face gently in his hands, and tells her something that stops everything cold. That hatred she's been holding onto this entire time, it was never even real. Daphne can't wrap her head around it, asking what he even means by her hatred not being real. Eros presses a hand to his chest, admitting that even if he explains everything, she probably won't understand. Honestly, he doesn't expect her to. But he knows her pain, knows exactly what killed her heart and planted this hatred inside it, and he knows how Phoebus's blind love bloomed overnight out of nowhere, so he lays it all out. This entire mess started because of Phoebus's arrogance, his own mother's cruel sense of humor, and Eros's own gullibility for shooting 2 arrows just because she suggested it. Daphne got caught in a feud between gods, and a mere nymph never stood a chance against that. When she asks in confusion if that means something specific, Eros cuts her off gently, explaining she was simply unlucky, chosen precisely because she loved Phoebus more than anyone else ever had. His mother heard her prayer that day. She took interest in her devotion, in the fact she was willing to give up half her life just to love him. Nothing would devastate Phoebus more than the one woman who never even caught his eye, suddenly hating him, right as he fell hopelessly in love with her. Daphne's eyes go wide as it all clicks into place. Every desperate expression, every affectionate touch, every sweet promise replaying in her mind. Phoebus telling her he felt like he'd fallen from the sun into being a mere mortal in front of her, that his name, his authority, none of it mattered anymore. And now she realizes all of it was fake, every single word. She asks why now, after all this time, when he could have easily just discarded a mortal caught up in godly games, wondering if her suffering finally pricked at his guilty conscience. Eros turns away, admitting that until the moment he aimed that arrow at her, he never gave her a second thought, never imagined the suffering she'd endure, didn't know it would hurt this much. Daphne turns away too, tears welling up, clutching at her clothes as she asks what he could know about her pain, accusing him of thinking mercy now would just magically fix everything. I wouldn't have forgiven him that easily either. Eros doesn't defend himself though, simply telling her he didn't come here seeking her forgiveness at all. Eros tells her he simply hoped she might finally find some peace, and Daphne can't help but let out a bitter laugh at that, admitting it's almost funny how gods talk. He pushes on anyway, telling her to let go of the hatred, to just reclaim what was originally hers, her love for Phoebus, her devotion, and take it back from whatever's consumed it. Once everything returns to how it should be and she receives Phoebus's love properly, he insists she'll be the happiest woman alive. That's when Daphne finally breaks. Why her, out of everyone? Ever since that day, her entire life has been a nightmare, forgetting how much she loved him. Watching Eros carve hatred into that exact space where love used to live, robbing her of ever seeing that love fulfilled. She's exhausted herself, hating him, made herself sick, slowly killed herself from the inside out. And now he wants her to just drop it and love him again. Does he not understand her pain at all? Because if he truly did, he couldn't possibly tell her to go back to loving Phoebus. He's the one who dragged her into this hell, and now he wants her happiness for his own conscience. And honestly, to gods, anyone not divine is just a disposable tool. Something to watch fade and then discard the second it stops being entertaining. She gets right in his face, asking if Phoebus falling for a lowly nymph, his love going unanswered, is just some amusing game to Eros. Eros doesn't flinch, telling her he'll gladly accept every insult she throws at him. Daphne isn't satisfied with insults, though. She wants compensation for the life he ruined. When he starts to say he'll grant her anything as long as it doesn't anger Phoebus, she cuts him off immediately, pointing out how convenient it is that he's suddenly worried about consequences after ruining everything already. What she actually wants is simple mercy, something well within his power to give. She wants to wake up from this nightmare, and she wants that unfortunate god, the one who lost his reason in the darkness Eros created, return to exactly how he was before. That's his fate, she says, and hers too. Later, walking together through the forest, Eros leads her somewhere neither Phoebus's light nor Artemis's reach can find her. He gently asks if she's truly okay with this choice. Daphne simply says yes, this is enough, thanks him, and walks away. A few hours before sunset, Phoebus is out picking flowers, muttering that this must be the last of them as he weaves the final ones into a crown. He knows it can't compare to whatever Chloris promised him through Morpheus, but he doesn't care. He just wants to get this to Daphne as fast as possible. Walking off, his mind's already racing ahead, picturing himself placing the crown on her head and asking her to marry him all over again. Convinced the mist and confusion clouding both their eyes have finally cleared, all that's left now is confessing his true love and living happily ever after. He smells the flowers, practically desperate to see her right away, already rehearsing how he'll tell her that hatred she felt was nothing but a lie, a fabrication, that only their love was ever real. He wonders what expression she'll make, telling himself he's ready to accept all of it, her resentment, her confusion, everything. Because from now on, only a pure, perfect love exists between them. That's when Hermes shows up out of nowhere. Phoebus jokes that news of his proposal couldn't have reached Olympus already, guessing only Hermes would drop in this unannounced. Hermes bows, and when Phoebus asks if it's Artemis's business again or a message from Zeus, Hermes says it's neither. Just something he genuinely felt Phoebus needed to know. Phoebus, hoping today of all days wouldn't get interrupted, asks if it's actually important. Hermes' answer is blunt. If the Phoebus he remembers hasn't changed, then yes, it concerns his nymph. That single word is enough to make Phoebus's eyes go wide, and the flower crown slips right out of his hand, hitting the ground. He doesn't wait for details. He's already on his flying horse, tearing through the sky shouting Daphne's name, irrational panic clawing its way through his chest. And as he flies, Hermes' earlier words keep replaying in his head on loop, that he'd spotted Eros flying straight toward Phoebus's domain, which was strange given how distant those two usually are, and that the sun had still been high when it happened. Hermes' voice keeps replaying in Phoebus's head, how it seemed odd that Eros was heading toward a temple whose master wasn't even home, prompting him to watch closely. Long-forgotten nightmares start clawing their way back to the surface as Hermes continues, revealing that on his way back, Eros wasn't alone. He had a nymph with him. That single detail is enough to grip Phoebus with a fear that losing Daphne might not be some nightmare anymore, but an actual reality closing in fast. He finally lands at his palace, practically throwing himself out of the chariot, sprinting inside while that same fear pounds through his chest. He's shouting her name over and over, checking every room in a panic, blaming himself the entire way up the stairs, telling himself he shouldn't have left her like that. Shouldn't have forced logic onto her when she was already so confused. He thought he was protecting her, but he was wrong. Painfully wrong. How could he have been this arrogant? He thought. If he truly loved her, he should have understood her confusion and simply waited instead of trying to dominate her with reason. Convinced only he was right this whole time while quietly suffocating her heart without even realizing it. I can literally hear his heartbeat. He shoves the door open, shouting her name into the room, scanning everywhere, but there's no one there. Then he looks toward the balcony and sees her. Daphne, smiling, calling out to him, and his whole chest unclenches with relief as he rushes over and pulls her into a hug. Except, it's not real. It was never real. Just his mind conjuring her out of desperation. He sinks to his knees, arms wrapped around nothing but air, wondering quietly if she'd still be standing there if he'd only done things differently. He collapses fully to the floor, fingernails dragging against the ground. Through gritted teeth, tears streaming down his face, he calls out Eros's name, accusing him of not being satisfied with his cruel little arrow games. Now daring to mock him by trying to extinguish the sun's own light entirely? Phoebus's thoughts turn venomous, accusing Eros of not just having the audacity to invade his palace, but pulling a stunt as pathetic as one would expect from someone of his bloodline. Standing up, he tells himself that no matter what Eros is planning, his shallow wit will never be enough to actually deceive him. Pressing a hand to his head, Phoebus reminds himself of one crucial fact Eros apparently forgot. Wherever light reaches, his eyes reach too. There's nowhere under the sun beyond his grasp. With that, he stretches his hand out and sends birds flying into the sky. Elsewhere, a woman named Demeter glances up while tending her plants. Confused why the sun is still blazing when the day should have ended long ago by now. Because after Daphne vanished, Phoebus forced the sun to set early and started scorching the entire earth in his search. His chariot tore across every corner of the world, past distant seas, past granaries, even into Artemis's forbidden forest itself. But no matter how far he stretched through nightfall, twilight, and dawn, Daphne was simply nowhere. A month passed. The moon cycled through 3 phases. Seasons shifted twice. And all Phoebus had to show for it was one brutal realization. She wasn't under his light at all. That anxiety, that creeping terror that her short mortal life could end before he ever found her, started eating him alive from the inside. He slowly abandoned his solar duties altogether, wandering further and further from his post, until 10 straight days of darkness fell over the entire world. Up on Olympus, Zeus sits on his throne, furious, listing off the damage, crop failures spreading everywhere, a plague tearing through Athena's city, unrest boiling among both gods and mortals. He demands to know how Phoebus dares ignore even his summons, warning that the world is inching back toward primordial chaos. Down below, mortals are on their knees praying, begging the gods to look on them with mercy, pointing out how death is stalking the land while hunger spreads and crops refuse to grow, pleading for Phoebus Apollo specifically to paint the world in gold again. And through all of it, Phoebus himself is barely holding together, ragged clothes hanging off him, his eyes drifting hopelessly toward the sky before his legs finally give out and he collapses flat onto the ground. He whispers Daphne's name softly into the dirt. Phoebus is still lying there on the ground, staring up at the sky as rain starts falling around him. What's that sound? He wonders. Footsteps? Or maybe just laughter, mocking him from somewhere. No, that can't be right. Where even is this place to begin with? His mind drifts further, unable to grasp how much time has passed since the day Daphne vanished. He'd even set aside his identity as the sun god just to search every inch of the world for her. But no matter how hard he searches, no matter how thoroughly he scours the earth, there's not even a glimpse of her anywhere. All that exists in this endless desert now is solitude, and the wind ringing in his ears like some cruel auditory hallucination. Maybe it's because light no longer touches this world at all. Even someone hiding in darkness can eventually be found, but not when there's no light left to find them with. His thoughts spiral toward her, wondering if she's lost somewhere in the deepest dark, wandering just like that night she called out to him in his dreams. If she trips, if she falls, he has to find her fast. Just as his eyes start slipping shut, they snap back open. He spots someone who looks exactly like her. "Daphne," he calls out, lifting his head only to slip and crash back down to the ground. He looks up again, and she's still there. This has to be her, he thinks. He needs to get closer, needs to check. Forcing himself onto his feet, he takes off running toward her, shouting her name over and over. Is it really her? Could it actually be Daphne? But right as he closes the distance, he slips again, landing right at her feet. Struggling back up, all he can manage is her name, breathless. Oh, Daphne. Kneeling before her, Phoebus apologizes for being so late, for leaving her all alone in a place like this, holding her hands like they might vanish if he lets go. He genuinely didn't know she'd be here. 10 days, he says, then catches himself, wondering what day it even is anymore. Maybe years have passed. Time without her meant nothing to him. He kisses her hands, begging her to believe he's been searching this entire time, desperate to finally tell her he loved her from the very beginning. He was so ignorant, he admits. Didn't know how to cherish her, didn't know how to love her properly. He just clung to the arrogant belief that his way was the right way. She knows that about him, doesn't she? How useless he really is. More clueless than anyone. Just a fool who only ever understood the rising and setting of the sun. He asks if he's too late, if she can't even bring herself to look back at him. Then he catches himself again, says forget it. He won't force this on her. She doesn't have to marry him. She can toy with him however she wants. Strip away every ounce of his divine power if she wants. It's fine by him. He can cure diseases. He can see the future. He can raise the sun or let it set forever. But the one thing he cannot obey is being told not to love her. Tears fill his eyes as he looks up at her, thanking her over and over for how kind she's being, for listening. And that's when it hits him. There's no one there. It was all just his imagination again. The crying comes hard and fast after that, his whole body shaking with it. He clutches his chest, looking up at the sky, and starts begging out loud, calling out to any god who might be listening, asking for just one thing, even if it's the last thing he ever gets. Let him see her. Man, this one actually hurts. He's sobbing now, full on begging, please, please. And just then, lightning cracks violently across the sky above him. Over with Aphrodite, she's asking her son Eros if he's heard the news from Olympus, though she figures there's no way he hasn't. The gods have been simmering with resentment for over 10 days now because of how foolishly Phoebus has been acting, on top of endless prayers pouring in from desperate mortals. She'd assumed Zeus's command would drag him back by now, but apparently there's still no word from him. Once everyone realizes the entire world got thrown into chaos over one single name, she says, it's only a matter of time before that proud reputation of his crashes completely. Plucking a few flowers beside her, she admits she's getting tired of watching her roses wither because of this mess. She never even wanted to grant a chance based on a prayer that wasn't properly offered to her, kneeling and all, but she refuses to keep taking collateral damage over it. Eros asks if she's actually going to send the nymph to Phoebus. Aphrodite just laughs at that, telling him he knows she isn't that tender-hearted, and she has zero desire to show Phoebus that kind of mercy. She's simply cracking the path open a little. What happens after that is entirely on Phoebus. Honestly, she admits she's curious herself, wondering what choice he'll make once he's face-to-face with her, wearing a mortal's mask after throwing the whole world into darkness searching for her. Since the three fates have already decreed this, not even a god on Olympus can defy it, meaning Phoebus is completely powerless here regardless. So she decides they'll watch a little longer, see whether light or eternal darkness waits at the end of this. Eros just drops his head, clearly feeling guilty listening to all of it. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, rain pours down hard as Phoebus staggers forward, sadness written all over his face. He stops suddenly, looking around, realizing where he actually is. Aphrodite, he mutters, wondering if this is her final message to him. If it is, then this has to be where Daphne is. And if he still can't find her even here, he decides he'll travel to the very edge of the world if that's what it takes. His fists clench as he silently vows that if she really is here, he'll beg like a dying mortal if that's what's needed. Then he takes off running, one thought consuming him completely. Daphne matters more than his divine authority, more than his pride. Nothing dares stand above her. Nothing's too difficult anymore, Phoebus tells himself. He can cast everything aside now. If she hates his light, he'll let eternal darkness swallow the world. If she loathes his form, he'll wrap himself in the most wretched hide imaginable. If she despises his voice, he'll sever his own gift of truth so he can never deliver another oracle again. Whatever she wants, he'll give it. He keeps running through that thought until he collapses to the ground, and when he lifts his face, there she is. Daphne, those green eyes catching the light. She looks at him and says he finally made it all this way, that this was the one place she could hide from him, and now he's come to strip even that away. Kneeling there in the mud, Phoebus's mind goes completely blank, unmistakably her voice. But what does he even say first? Tell her to come back? Tell her he's been searching this whole time? Tell her that hatred was manufactured from nothing? His tongue feels frozen solid, his mind wrapped in fog. He manages to get out her name. Daphne, I have. But nothing follows. As she starts walking away, he reaches out, begging her to wait, to hold on. She doesn't stop. She tells him not to come any closer, asking why he searched for her while reducing himself to such a wreck, questioning if he even realizes what chaos the world's fallen into because he lost himself over one woman he'll surely forget eventually. Didn't he think for even a second about how much innocent mortals would suffer without the sun? She should have just died in front of him, she says. At least then she wouldn't have had to witness something this foolish. Phoebus presses a hand to his chest, admitting he knows exactly how foolish and pathetic he looks right now, knows he's been irresponsible, turning his back on the entire world just to find her. But she matters most to him. Forgetting her is simply impossible. Still facing away, Daphne insists he will forget, that he'll eventually return to who he was before, and that she will return too. She swears it, before continuing to walk. Phoebus's eyes go wide at that. Return where? Daphne, return to where? Kneeling in the pouring rain, he screams her name, begging her to look at him just once more, telling her how dear she is to him as he pushes himself closer. Daphne, please, it's really you, please. But as he closes the distance, reality crashes back in. There's no one there. It was all in his head again. He keeps repeating that he can't hear her voice anymore, can't feel her breath, sinking back to his knees, sobbing out one final broken cry toward the sky. Oh God. Phoebus kneels there by the tree, still crying, calling out to Aphrodite directly. He knows this is her domain, knows his voice will reach her since she watches over everything. Is this what she wanted to see? He asks, him broken and wretched, begging at her feet like this. Is she up there mocking his arrogance, his mistakes? Fine, he tells her. She has every right to. She was right about him. His reason and restraint turned out completely useless. He's sobbing hard now, admitting his reason couldn't protect Daphne, that before her, his entire status as the sun, all his power, meant less than a single blade of grass. He calls out again, asking if Aphrodite's even listening, thinking about how he couldn't even make the woman he loves smile, couldn't protect her when it mattered. If bringing her back means giving up everything, he says, then he'll give it all. Everything he possesses only ever made her miserable anyway, so he'll do whatever's asked of him. That's when a figure appears in the shadows nearby, though Phoebus, still deep in his own spiraling thoughts, keeps going, saying he'd gladly forfeit his light, his prophecy, his entire divine authority, that he'd even become a laurel tree himself if it meant staying part of this forest with her. He just wants to see her one more time. This devotion, he realizes, was always his from the very beginning. She's the only one who ever mattered. Then Daphne steps out of the shadows, tears streaming down her own face. Phoebus's eyes go wide, his mind whispering her name like a prayer, my Providence. But what comes out of her mouth next isn't gentle. She calls him a fool, genuinely asking how he dares offer a prayer like that with the lips of a god. Does he have any idea how pathetic he looks right now, crawling around on all fours like some beast, played with by a young god's childish whims? Even I didn't expect her to come out swinging like this. That blind love he's been drowning in, she tells him, is nothing but a complete sham. Even her hatred, the very thing that reduced him to something lower than an insect, was nothing more than a young god shooting an arrow at a passing creature just for sport. Daphne's about to explain that she and Phoebus were simply, but he cuts her off before she can finish. He tells her he already knows everything, and none of it matters. By Zeus's own providence, he's a god forbidden from speaking falsehood, incapable of letting a lie cross his tongue, and he has no shadow to hide behind either. Tears in his eyes, he tells her that no matter how light Aphrodite's prank was, his words remain absolutely true regardless, which means his love for her cannot possibly be a lie. He lays it all out, staking his immortality on her, abandoning his duties as the sun to find her, plunging the entire world into 10 days of darkness. He is even begging Aphrodite as though he were immortal just for permission to love her. Hand pressed to his chest, he means every word. Daphne admits she doesn't understand why a god would even want something like this, asking if he realizes immortality comes with a loneliness beyond anything he can imagine. He says he knows. Wiping her tears, she calls him shameless for it, but Phoebus insists none of that matters, that nothing is too difficult. He'd cast it all aside except the one thing he can't give up, his divinity, because he needs it to protect her from the ancient oath and from his sister's fury. He just wants her to look at him, because the only thing that was ever fake was her hatred. Daphne finally looks up. Phoebus stands, closing the distance, calling her name over and over. Daphne! Daphne! Are you there? And then she's standing right in front of him, tears streaming down her face, calling out Lord Phoebus. Both of them break down together right as the sun chariot rises behind them in a world more brilliant than it's ever been. Two people finally facing each other with a love that holds no falsehood at all. They pull each other into a hug, and through her tears, Daphne starts to say his name again. But Phoebus stops her gently, telling her, he knows everything now. The dreamlike haze, the manufactured hatred, none of it matters anymore. He brushes the leaf from her hair one more time, just like that very first day, and tells her she'll come to love him again, just as he loves her. Then their lips meet, sealing it like a prophecy finally fulfilled. I'm almost in tears. Aphrodite is looking particularly pleased right now, and honestly, who can blame her? The ultimate thorn in her side, Lord Phoebus has finally quieted down, allowing her precious roses to finally regain their fragrance after suffering through 10 whole days without a single drop of sunlight. Her son Eros walks beside her, bringing up the big news that everyone across the realm is gossiping about. Lord Zeus finally handed down his judgment, giving Phoebus a 7-year sentence. Both of them agree that 7 years is a laughably light penalty for someone who literally brought famine, plague, and death upon mortals, even though somebody out there actually thought it was harsh. It really just shows how much Zeus dotes on him compared to all his other sons, even though Phoebus's most powerful weapon comes directly from someone else's hands. That detail immediately shifts the conversation toward Lord Hephaestus, and Eros cannot help but observe how his mother acts every single time that name gets brought up. Everyone around them loves to call Eros an immature young god, but in his mind, his mother is the real one who never actually grows up. He vividly recalls Hephaestus explaining that it is simply because she is beauty itself, and because true beauty never ages or withers. Love can never be governed by cold reason. She is merely staying true to her nature, which leads Eros to privately conclude that his mother is just completely out of her mind, enabling her to love endlessly without limits. Hephaestus himself once stood with his chained hands brought together around an ornate gem necklace, admitting that he was likely out of his mind as well. That is the crazy thing about love. It completely blinds even the most upright, noble souls, acting as a playful or secret thing, and sometimes even altering the very providence of others. For young Eros, watching all of this unfold is just baffling, because changing or hiding your entire nature just for the sake of love is a concept he cannot even begin to comprehend yet. As the two of them continue walking down the hallway, the topic turns to the massive fallout that completely shattered Olympus. Phoebus managed to alienate his own sister over a mortal nymph. Leto was actually willing to forgive and forget the entire disaster if he just returned the nymph to her, but Phoebus completely ignored his sister's words like they meant nothing at all. Instead, he defiantly declared that he was going to marry the nymph and grant her eternal life, driving such a bitter wedge between them that the atmosphere in Olympus turned as cold as enemies. Aphrodite finds it absolutely gratifying that love and pleasure have reigned supreme over temperance and reason, though seeing Phoebus's peaceful, unbothered face after begging like a thief without offering any tribute makes her utterly sick. But as she gently touches Eros's chin, she admits that the nymph was actually quite a darling child. This mortal was living such a short, fleeting life, yet she was willing to offer up her very existence just to secure Phoebus's love. We even get a look back at the dark-haired woman's desperate prayer to the goddess of love, where she begged that if Phoebus would look at her as a real woman just once instead of a toy, and if his love were directed solely at her and no one else, she would gladly die. That level of devotion really hit Aphrodite, and as she pinches Eros's face, she reassures him that even though the nymph was sweet, he is still far more adorable, prompting Eros to plead with her to let go of his face. She decides that even if Phoebus's 7-year sentence feels way too light, they should just leave it alone for now, so he does not get arrogant again. Eros quietly admits that even after witnessing all this drama, he still does not understand love. His mother softly reassures him not to be in such a hurry, reminding him that love, affection, and the bitter hatred they bring are all part of their divine domain, so he will understand it soon enough. As she walks through the garden and Eros stands holding his bow, narration frames her reassuring words as a prophecy. Eros opens his eyes and tightly grips his bow right next to a glowing golden arrow, confirming that the story of this young boy learning the true weight of love and growing into a man is not far off at all. Up north, Daphne's riding through the forest on horseback, bow drawn, and lets an arrow fly straight at an animal. She dismounts, wiping the sweat off. And that's when Phoebus's voice cuts in from behind, accusing her of snatching what was rightfully his. She walks over, confused, insisting the fox was hers from the start. He points out the horse she's riding happens to be his too. Daphne just shrugs, saying she was simply following his own advice, that in a hunting ground you use whatever means necessary. Fair point, he admits, chuckling that it's clearly working since the horse listens to her so well. She pats its head fondly. Phoebus teases that maybe it only recognizes her as its mistress because she keeps sneaking it out of the stable whenever she pleases. Oops, she offers back playfully, completely unbothered. She tells him his horses are just remarkably gentle and smart, adding that people always say horses take after their masters, though she doesn't think that holds up here. Phoebus asks what she means by that. Daphne grins, saying it's the gentle part specifically that doesn't apply to him. She reaches out, touching his abs, admitting that yes, he's still the god of wisdom, and wiser than any sage alive. But lately, no matter what she does or how she does it, he just stays completely still. Doesn't yield an inch. He smiles at that, warning her that something meaningless to her could be absolutely fatal to him. Daphne just laughs it off, pointing out she hasn't even done anything yet. Teasing that if he's already reacting this much to so little, she wonders how he'll possibly survive what's coming next. Daphne closes the distance, calling him her Phoebus, and leans in for a kiss. And somewhere in that moment, Phoebus reflects on how the curse of that arrow melted away completely. Yet part of who Daphne became under its influence never quite reverted. The way she kisses without a trace of shyness now, the unrestrained honesty in how she speaks and touches him, that's all stayed. What changed most, he thinks, is her newfound instinct to tease him relentlessly, exactly like this. When they finally break apart, He asks if she's testing exactly how far she can push him before he actually dies. She just blushes and fires back that he was the eager one first, pointing out he doesn't even know what to do with himself after a few touches. Phoebus tells her how lovely it is seeing her this honest, then asks her to slow down just a little. Daphne pauses, confused, pointing out they haven't even finished. But he insists she's satisfied already, that she just wanted to feel that spark for a second since she was still riding the excitement from the hunt. Then she just walks off toward her horse as if nothing happened. Phoebus calls after her, asking if she's really going to leave him hanging like this. Daphne turns it right back on him, asking if she's supposed to take responsibility for that, adding playfully that she'd rather save that energy for the bedroom later, so they can think about it properly once they're back in their chambers. Can he hold out until then? She teases, calling him her Phoebus one more time as she walks off. Watching her go, Phoebus can't help but think that he's got her back now, so really, what does any of that matter? One glance at her sparkling like that and he forgets everything, sinking deeper into her all over again. Yeah, that man is completely done for. Later, back in the bedroom, Daphne turns to him with a knowing smile, telling him that since he held out so patiently until they got back, he's earned himself a reward, hasn't he, Lord Phoebus? Our girl suddenly tells Phoebus not to move and insists he stay exactly where he is. The sudden confidence completely catches him off guard. He tries to protest, saying that even if this is supposed to be a reward, it feels like she's pushing herself too far, but she shuts that down immediately. She teases him for acting so formal now when just a little while ago in the forest, he could barely hide how desperately he wanted her. At this point, the roles have completely flipped, and honestly, it's pretty satisfying to watch. She tells him all he has to do is surrender himself and stop pretending, because she's already seen through every excuse he's making. Even when he claims he's only worried about her getting hurt, she can tell from the look on his face that he's enjoying every second of this. He gently reaches for her and admits there's nothing he can do anymore. Her smile, her voice, her touch, and even the faintest trace of her presence leave him completely defenseless. I don't think bro ever stood a chance. Daphne smiles and tells him that if that's really how he feels, then it's finally his turn to make her happy. The distance between them disappears as the two finally give in to the feelings they've buried for so long. She confesses that she has been burning with the same desire all this time. She says the emptiness inside her only disappears whenever they're together. Hearing those words leaves him overwhelmed with happiness as he promises to give her a day that will feel as endless as eternity. Looking at the woman he loves, he can't stop talking about how grateful he is that she exists in his world. He asks if she feels the same. Deep down, Daphne already has her answer. The hatred, the pain, and the endless misunderstandings that once tore them apart all feel like distant memories now. Standing beside him, she realizes she's happier than she ever thought possible. It even makes her wonder how she could have forgotten a love this precious in the first place. To her, Phoebus is everything. He's her happiness, her sorrow, and the dream she never wants to wake up from. He is her son and the one person she wants by her side forever. Eventually, the emotional moment comes to an end, but neither of them wants to let go. Phoebus quietly tells Daphne that he loves her, and without the slightest hesitation, she says those same words right back. As she holds him close, she knows with absolute certainty that the man before her isn't just the love of her life. He is her forever. At this point, I honestly don't blame her. After everything they've been through, this reunion feels completely earned. Enjoying this so far? Comment Daphne below for part 3. Until next time, ciao.